Let's do it.
Just like a fist away from the microphone is
A
good,
fist
and
right here. Okay.
you can lean back, just adjust your chair however you need to. The headphones will help you stay consistent on the audio, and if you need to take a bathroom break or anything, we just pause
give
it.
you the hey.
Sometimes we just say, "Hey, I need to piss."
Peeing is what I'm gonna.
That's good.
Yeah,
you don't
right?
want to make the circle.
No, that's not what I
Yeah,
want.
that's
a completely different thing that I want.
Is that sign? Is that American sign for pee-pee?
Yeah.
The act of pee-pee?
I hope so.
Okay. Just checking.
I only know like 2 things in sign language. So.
All right. We're recording. We can't say we're live yet because I can't do a live stream yet.
Can't do live stream.
But we're working on it.
Well, I feel like this was oversold to me then.
Yeah, I know. So, but I think I'm trying to find some software to do it. The broadcasting equipment, dude, some of it's as expensive as $3,000. And I just told you my budget's $100 a month.
Right.
So
a little bit. I didn't go into math a lot.
Yes.
But it does seem different.
Yes.
What's the difference? What could be the possible difference between recording something and then putting it to just broadcasting?
Well, okay. So
online?
here's the thing that's the goal. I don't want to have to edit after the fact.
Sure.
Like, if we get up and go to the bathroom, it's fine. The cutting in, like I started the camera feed earlier, but like when we put our headphones on and I see myself go on the Mac here for now, or when I click on the recorder there, when I hook it up, that's a minimal amount of editing.
Sure.
Then I kind of bring the color up a little bit if I need to. Add our logo down at the bottom.
Right.
But that's like
it's
adding the logo. Yeah, it's not even that. It's maybe 5 minutes. But even put my logo, it's a picture inside the video. Mm-hmm. So what I want to be able to happen is to have pictures inside my video for the YouTube audience while I'm doing it on my computer. Mm. And that's one of the reasons I got this thing is so I can get... like right now I'm recording the audio into my computer. So I want to pull some strain off my computer until I get a computer for the podcast and dump it into this thing. Mm-hmm. So, and like I said, this allows me to be able to record at my office, at the gym, or the coffee shop, the Coffee Cast.
It's coming.
We're going to do a series. It's going to be called the Coffee Cast.
Yeah.
You could be the co-host.
Do you have to like coffee in order to do the Coffee Cast?
I mean, you don't have to.
It's my largest weakness.
You could get hot cocoa. There's always like if I go with large groups of people, there's like a bunch of people get coffee, and this person gets cocoa.
I love this because I also do not enjoy chocolate on a large scale. Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. I've alienated myself in just about every
way
possible.
Caffeine, no chocolate, huh?
No coffee, no chocolate. I love caffeine. I'll drink Dr. Pepper until I make myself sick. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, cool.
Yep.
Well, so I'll give you a little introduction. I mean, it's going to say your name.
Excellent.
Next to it's going to say Life Unraveled 15, Ryan Peden. So everybody will know what your name is. But
done.
Ryan Peden here on the podcast, Life Unraveled number 15, as we just said. And we're going to be chatting it up. I got some things I'm going to ask you about just because you're a learned, journeyed man.
Oh,
so I just wanted to say learned.
For sure. Yeah.
Learned?
No, learned. Learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like words like that have the ed on the end.
Yeah,
I've been
all
noticing
past
them.
tense.
Yeah. So, you and I, we went to, I didn't start going to school till 8th grade. At the time in which I was probably,
really?
Yeah, dude, I was a social retard back then. You can say social retard, right? It's just retard.
Honestly, I think we should reclaim the word retard.
That's what Joe Rogan said. He was like, this is why we need the word retard.
Yeah.
Somebody's heckling him. He's like, for people like you. And he goes off into this whole side thing, and then they throw the dude out. It was so funny. It's going around on Facebook and stuff right now.
Man.
Yeah. So, but so you and I kind of grew up together, really. Went to high school together, graduated high school together, went to junior high together. I think I knew you before I went to school, we'd gone to church together, like maybe met through Mark Freeman or something.
I mean, there's no telling.
I believe that was pre-junior high, though.
Well, I mean, oh, man, I honestly have so few memories before I was 8, and then even then, it doesn't
I
really
have this
pick up
memory
until
of me picking you up in my brown van before school.
brown van.
Maybe
Before
CJ
school?
too. I don't know
No,
why.
Couldn't be that. It had to have been for some reason. I feel like I remember a brown van.
Yeah,
Was
the
brown van,
the GMC Safari with the gold rims. 1989.
was that? That's not when you were driving it, obviously. When was that? That was before the Green Dragon, right? Like
that was after the Green Dragon.
that was after.
No, wait.
No, that
I don't
tiny
remember.
little truck.
Yeah,
of
no,
yours.
that was my first truck.
Okay.
Right, so that was like 10th grade. Yeah, man, I forgot about the Green Dragon.
you go.
Then my uncle.
You like how I pulled out the name and everything?
Safari,
the
yeah.
nickname and everything.
It was brown.
It was brown.
Turd brown.
Okay, I remember the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put the same color as my dog in there.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe a little lighter.
Probably just as large.
When he's really been eating that expensive food. It's funny, he's been pretentious about the expensive, like the Blue Buffalo food, and now he wants to eat like the lower brand. He's been like not eating his food till he just gets like so hungry that the treats he's been living off of all day are no longer enough for his 100-pound body,
Right.
10 months old. Yeah.
He is large. He about knocked me over.
Oh, dude, he did knock someone over the other night, and I felt super bad. We did a Fight Companion podcast, and Hannah, it's like one of my guys in the gym, Josh, he teaches a class on Saturdays, and he comes over and does my MMA show a lot, like every time but one. And we've done like 7, I think. So he's pretty much like a regular guest. And they came over to do a Fight Companion. So we did a 4-person like UFC Fight Companion, and yeah, he knocked her straight over as soon as she came in the door. He loves everybody, dude.
Just equally.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll find
There
out.
was somebody that just randomly came over and like didn't arrive in a car, and he didn't like that person. He was like, "What you doing walking up here?"
Yeah, this has never happened before. I'm not okay with this. I mean, that's got to be a good sign in a dog, though.
Yeah.
Surely.
I think he'll be a decent guard dog. I mean, he's only 10 months old.
Yeah.
He's still a child.
Even his form of love, though, is surely guard dog-esque.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked a little bit recently, but
Right.
I didn't see you a whole lot recently because you went on a National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Recently is now officially been stretched about as far as you can go, I think.
Yeah. Well, we talked on the phone a couple of times, and then we did the escape room the other night.
Sure, yeah.
And I know you. How long have you been back in town?
Back in Clarksville?
Yeah.
September of 2016, so
Yeah.
about a year and a half.
Yeah. But have you gone back to California a couple of times?
Yeah, back in June, I actually went road tripped out there with Lupe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
what was that like?
Well, I'm not sure if all the details are podcast safe.
Yeah.
But,
Was it Fear and Loathing style? Y'all were just like.
well, okay, so it's like me, Lupe, Daniel Frias, and little Danny
Oh wow.
in a car. And
Does Lupe still drive like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't he? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Like, okay, so side one moment. Like when I went to get my driver's license, like my mom's like, "You have to take the written test." I'm like, "Fine, I'll go take the." And I passed the written test, right? And I'm like, "Okay, Mom, can I just finish this up and take the?" No, you need more practice, Mom. You've been hassling me for 6 months to get my driver's license. Just let me finish it. No, you need more driving practice. You need more. And it was like that tension between her wanting me to take responsibility, but her not ready for me to have responsibility. And so one day I've just had enough. I'm like 2 weeks out from being 18. And I'm like, "Hey, Lupe, take me to go. Can I use your car to go take the driver's license and test, the driving test?" And so we go, and I get in his driver's seat, and the lady gets in to the passenger seat, and she's like, "Oh, I bet you he said that you can't, change up his seat at all." Well, his seat was broken. Like I couldn't adjust it at all. So the seat is like 3 feet behind me. I'm on the very edge of it trying
Like
to take
Police Academy style. Have you seen that? Remember where the long leg dude just like pulls the seat out so he can drive it?
Exactly. But yeah, I'm basically on the floor, just on the very edge of the seat trying to take the driving portion of my test. Anyways, his seat is still
I try and motivate
reclined
our
position.
teens at the gym to do their driver's test as well.
Yeah.
Just because it helps. Like, for example, like one of my boxers just got his driver's license, and like went from like he was like planning on dropping out of school at one point and like had no ambition. He started boxing, and I'm always kind of trying to motivate people while I'm doing class. And he just kept showing up, and like 18 months in, he went from like 235 pounds, 170 pounds, went from like a D and F student to a B student.
Yeah, crazy. Stability and discipline does in your life.
I know it is, but he finally, and he went through, and like he failed his written test a few times, and then he failed his driven part one time too. He like didn't do two things, had to go back and take it again. And then so he passed it, got his driver's license, and now he's got a truck, and now he can drive to train with me whenever he wants.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like, what was good for him, he's got different plans. I don't know what he's going to do 100%, but now at least he has the freedom to do more things, or the mobility. Sometimes I was just simpler, and I could just live right next to the gym and not have to drive around a whole lot.
Sure.
That'd be good. I only live like 10 miles away though.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
10 minutes. It's actually only like 3 miles away.
Let's shortcut the tangent about, the necessary wealth to live a normal life in America, and we'll save that for another time.
Yeah. No, it, things have been good for me, because, just Cora and I, we have a great dynamic, and we both have like been, particularly me, it's like I've been hustling towards the same thing for a long time. And some people, I've talked about this on the podcast before, never have a thing to hustle towards.
Yeah.
Like they don't ever find that they want to hustle towards.
Dude, I'm sitting over here. I don't know if anyone's. Yeah, like I'm sitting over here. It's just there's this huge cognitive distance between like 8th grade Brian and Ryan, and like now Brian and Ryan. Brian Wilson has become something that just 8th grade Brian Wilson looks nothing like.
Yeah.
You got a lot of personality, the exact same, and longer hair.
But
you've done some amazing stuff with your life.
Thank you.
Really successful, and that has nothing to do with anything other than just hard work and discipline. And like, out of a lot of the people everyone that we graduated with, like there's only a handful of people that I'm like, that person did something with life, and I'm proud of them, and you're one of them.
Well, thanks, dude.
Well,
yeah, too. Like you've done some amazing stuff too. That's why I wanted to bring you out, just because I never got to sit down and talk to you about the Europe trip. Or
I feel like all the cool things that I've gotten to do have been kind of like, well, I don't have anything right now, and so. Like you have all these things that's like, it'd be really cool to go do this, or I'd love to go see and do this.
You did that.
I did it because I didn't have anything else going. I was like, well, I have no excuse not to go do these things. And if I have to spend the rest of my life in a dead-end job somewhere, I'd rather have on the front end done these things. And so I did.
No, somebody else I was complimenting for just kind of following their own path that was on the podcast is Josh Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And, takes a lot of courage to do things like that too, because I was like Josh, I remember being in junior high, and he quit like everything to pursue music and theater. Mm-hmm. And
he was a heck of an athlete.
He was, dude. Yeah. That's what I first knew him as, is Josh, the baseball, basketball, football star.
Yeah.
And and he went on and to follow these other passions, and I think that he was probably way happier. And I think that, it's like self-discovery, or like, it takes a long time. Like I really did not have any of my shit together until I was like 23 to 25 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, like 23, it started getting better. And then like when I went back to school.
Right. After you did your whole car salesman phase, I feel like things started to fall together for you.
Yeah. So I started getting it together, and then I just was like, well, I'm just going to get my education. Mm-hmm. And we both went so after you graduated and went to Europe, how I knew what you were doing and stuff was just following you on Facebook, but like Dr. Tarver was always telling me what was going on and stuff.
Right.
And I would ask, but you worked for the dean's office when I worked for the history department,
right,
when we were going to tech. And, and you went to graduate school pretty much, right? Would you call that? Was that a graduate program?
Yeah, so I have a master's. It's technically a seminary, but I think that they would, in the whole categorization, it is a seminary, but it's also a graduate school, so.
Yeah, I wonder, are you eligible to teach like a religious studies? We're talking about adjuncting.
I don't see why not. Yeah, I definitely have more than 18 hours.
Well, I bet
I definitely have a master's in theology.
You know what you could look into, and what I believe Morrilton told me they were looking for is, and they offer on their course catalog, is philosophy.
Yeah, I wonder how that would.
You have to have 18 hours in the field,
right?
It postgraduate or post undergrad,
right? So I wonder just how they would categorize something like my theology courses or something like that.
Worth looking into.
I think so. Like, if
dude, you need to do something like that. In my opinion, I think I could totally see you like standing up in front of people telling them about Tutmozi and freaking
real talk. About, and this is just my timeline all out of order, it's totally unraveled. 3 years ago now? I don't know, right when I took off to California, between getting back from Europe and California, there was a relationship that started, and a relationship that I wanted to like get married. And like when that stone fell into place with like, okay, like this is the person I want to get married to, I was actually able to move forward from there. It was almost like the hierarchy of needs, where you get to move on to the next level of like what you want to do once you've secured one zone, you know? And so when I had figured out like, okay, this is the relationship I want to invest in for the rest of my life, I started to think, well, like I could public teach and work in a church doing like missions coordination and outreach stuff. And those are the two things I wanted to do. And I found that when that relationship ended drastically in 2014, I ran out of energy for the teaching. I could no longer see myself waking up every morning. I could do it for a week. I could do it for 3 months.
That's what's so good. Like about, I mean, it's not going to be this way if I start doing full time, which I may. It's only 30 hours a week or less if I do it full time. I have to do 15 office hours, and then I'll have to teach like 5 or 6 classes. But like I'm going to have some demands. I have to interview for the position, but I'm going to be like, they're losing a full-time person. To retirement or? Yeah. Oh, okay. But then also some other people I've heard are disgruntled with their course load and stuff. So they're going to need me there to teach classes, and I'm more than willing to do it, and I want to do it. But it's like, you know, like right now it's nice adjuncting because it's a side gig. Mm-hmm. I come and go as I please. That's right. I don't have to have office hours. So like I also might... it would work better for me if I was just like, if they allowed me to be part-time but teach like 4 courses, mm-hmm. and like one of them be online. I would be willing and open to do that. But the gym's going to be my first in teaching adults. So like when I start doing that more, I'm going to scale down teaching kids as much, which I already have, just to kind of plan for the transition. But Corey's going to run the kids, I'm going to run the adults. And
well, this past year when I sent an email to Tech, you know, like
Tech won't even hire me. Dude, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that a little bit, because your master's is from Tech, and I know a lot of people are like, well, we don't want to hire in-house. It kind of stagnates the pool a little bit. But it does seem like they're getting a lot of applications from people who are just overqualified for the positions, and that's probably killing the whole process a little bit. But I thought, well, like I just, you know, if I could pick up a online class or 2, I wouldn't have to move for anything.
Yeah, and I thought that's what they would give me.
Right.
But it ended up being a face-to-face, which I was actually more excited to do for some reason. Yeah. I just like an online class would be great. Like let's say right now I'm doing Western Civ 2. Mm-hmm. So it would be...
What years to what years?
1500 to present. Okay. So it would be nice. I started at like 1200 though.
Sure,
I started off with the Mongols, dude.
Because you have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was actually how the book went, and the book gave like 6 pages to like the whole Mongol, the Mongol piece, Pax Mongolica and stuff. And I was like, screw it. I'm listening to Dan Carwin's entire podcast again on Wrath of the Mongols. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to take this stuff from the book. I'm going to read over here. I'm going to, you know, and then I got put together like this 3-day lecture on the Mongols.
Now you're 3 weeks into
now I'm 3 weeks behind. But now, you know, I probably will have to skirt over some stuff. Like I'm going to hit the French Revolution and Enlightenment real hard after this coming test. Like right now, dude, guess we're on Louis the 14th, bro, and I'm just losing
there for 100
I'm losing
years.
it. Yeah. So, oh man. So we got to go through, and I'm still insanely jealous of you getting to take Professor Krieger for History of England and History of Greece and Rome, you bastard.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't get to take him for those, man.
and those are like great summer seminars.
You know, I've got to sort through it.
I've got
and
my
I'm
notes
gonna,
somewhere. Like I have not thrown away anything.
yeah, well, I do
Yeah.
too. I have a whole box in here in that
Yeah.
in the dog's room. But what I'm going to do, I also, if you remember, I recorded most all of Krieger and Charlie Bush's lectures.
Yeah.
So at some point,
That was
if I
like
do
the year
start,
after I left, you started doing that project. And,
Yeah.
and my last year, yeah.
man. So we got to take French Revolution together. That was such a good class.
Loved
and now
it.
and we took the Enlightenment, and then now they've distilled those courses into one.
Sure, because that makes sense.
Yeah, Dr.
Somehow.
Jenkins, I think, teaches them.
Oh,
Yeah, she teaches history of England now too, which I think she
yeah,
rotated with
she
Krieger.
taught the other half of it actually. When Krieger was teaching that one, she was teaching the other half.
Interesting.
Of the history of England, right? Because it only covered like half and half. Ironically, you have the history of one country split into two separate classes, and then you talk about world civ, you know, which is usually Western civ, but now maybe it's broadening. I wonder like what all you're getting to cover from the 1500s. Are you going to Japan? Are you going to sub-Saharan Africa?
Well,
I mean,
yes.
ironically, Western Civ does
because it's Western Civ, but I have kind of probably overstepped my bounds in a couple of areas.
Right.
Like, for example, like when we were covering Columbus, I was like, what? I was like, I'm telling these people what really happened. So I started, just like in the Mongols, I was like, well, I'm going to tell them about all the rape. And then I actually had a student that came up and they were like, I guess it had a negative experience or someone close. I didn't really clarify. I was just like, hey, you know, we have people you can talk to on campus type of a situation. But it was like, it made me reevaluate too. And I went and talked to my boss about it, and she's like, hey, it was suicide last semester, it's rape this semester, whatever. I mean, she wasn't that coy about it, but still, you know, I mean, I didn't really think about that, like my audience in the classroom and how they might have sensitivities to certain things. So now I just make jokes and talk about Netflix shows.
Man.
And don't talk about rape.
I mean, there's a lot there. We could do a podcast just unpacking what you just said.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, see, so you can imagine as an adjunct, I have less academic freedom, so to speak.
You have less tenure.
Yeah. But I feel really good about working there. And I hope, DeBlack is retiring. So
about time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's it's sad that he didn't get to be a professor for as many years as some people, though. I think he was only a professor for less than 20 years. Something.
Okay.
But in that time, man,
like
contributed so much. Yeah, because he was a principal. Remember, he didn't go back and get a PhD till he was like 40. Working at Morrilton, I had the option to get a PhD at like essentially half price through U of A.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I have an interest in doing that.
Like all online / remote learning?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be that simple. But
it's 2018. You may not know this, but that's where it's all going.
I know, dude. That's why, that's why I just anticipate I would teach an online course, and they're like, no, we don't do so. They actually, you would think them being a community college would do more online stuff, but they're actually doing less. And I might even say this to because dude, as soon as they hit that point where they get the refund checks, my 32 person class, 22 people average is what show up. I ran the averages the other day, so I have to.
You're dropping 10 once the refund checks hit.
Well, no, they didn't drop. They just stopped coming to class.
Yeah, they're just.
And I don't know if they're going to pass or not. We'll see. It's a pain, dude. I mean, grading is a pain.
No offense. I hope that they do well in life, but at the end of the day, fuck them. Yeah. If they're not going to show up, they're not going to show up.
I can't say that. I don't think.
Well, not to them. I don't.
But I can agree with you saying.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, they need to just like me. Like anything that I say about another person, know that it's a reflection of what I've thought about myself, and it's just look, if you're not going to handle your business.
Well, and too. So I hope that, it just makes you think about things, which is good, because I'm like, well, are they not showing up because of me? I should do a better job.
Well, they should just drop the class and take a different one.
Yeah, well, I had this, ironically, this one student that is like comes to class the least and has the worst. Yeah, he doesn't have the worst grade or whatever, but is a freaking high school student. I'm like, how did you end up here? I wish I could have taken college classes in high school.
We could.
Yeah, I know. I didn't. I don't think I qualified for whatever reason. I took pre-AP with Coslet in English, but anyway.
I don't know how I qualified. Go on.
Yeah.
So he's like you've got a concurrent credit student in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yep. And I had to like go. No.
Good.
We'll just move on. We could talk about it after the podcast a little more. Anyway, I think I don't know what my. I think as long as I don't say names.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Situations. This wasn't even this semester, which is the first semester I've taught.
Right. Yeah. No, I think as long as you keep it vague, it's fine. He's gonna know if he listens, or she. I don't.
Well, I bet if he doesn't come to class, he's not gonna listen to this podcast. I talk about my podcast periodically in class,
so they would know.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to get set up to do phone call podcasts. I can do them. It's like the audio only audience is theoretically bigger than the video audience, but I think YouTube as a platform is
absolutely.
It's insane. Like some of it defies all logic that everything I've read says audio only podcast uploaded on YouTube get the least amount of views, but my 2 most viewed podcasts on YouTube are audio only.
So like you're getting people on YouTube watching.
So like right now we're filming, but like some people have an aversion to being on film, like they don't want to be on film, or maybe we're like doing lines of blow during the podcast. I'm just kidding, but they don't want to be on film for whatever reason, and like they're way more relaxed and comfortable.
Sure.
Like a guy I have on to do my music Unraveled, he just prefers to not be on camera. Colby, when he comes over, doesn't want to be on camera.
Right.
Colby's actually known as my friend Bill. He doesn't. Isn't
that his middle name? What's his middle name?
It's actually Colby is his middle name. I'm not supposed to talk about his personal information on the podcast. I made a status that was like, going to see a perfect circle on this date. And he was like, dude, take that stuff down. People are going to come rob me when we leave, I'm like, okay, so we're not seeing a perfect circle.
On this date at this time. That's hilarious. Anyway.
But so some people don't. The goal is to just have the guest be relaxed. Most people, it's like weird. Like you were commenting, like, oh, it sounds weird in the headphones when I hear my own voice. Some people are like, you're super stiff about stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have like see-through glasses.
Yeah, they're translucent frames.
Cool.
Yeah, I decided to go a little bit hipster. I don't know. I've just had, anyways, not important. But have you thought about getting someone to animate your audio only podcasts?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do that?
No, I suck at animation, but you should definitely get somebody to just
I would pay somebody to do that. I've got audience members right now. It's like the next evolution. So I'm going to shatter this. I'm trying to hit 100 podcasts my first year, but like now I'm on this 5 podcast a week plan, and
killing it.
I'm gonna try that. I've just got onto that last week, so
it's early in the year.
But I'm hoping that a year from right now I can have 250 podcasts out. So, but I'm trying to get to where I can start doing clips. So I've got a bunch of clips where people did readings or different things on the podcast where I can pull, and people are shooting me like, hey, when you were talking about Keith Richards having a blood bitch and still doing tons of heroin, that was awesome. Maybe make that a clip. I'll be like, okay. But the tunes, yeah, I wish I knew somebody that did that. That's why I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to get to where I'm not putting tons of audio and video through the computer.
Yeah.
Where I can all do it externally. And then I'm either going to I would like to build a podcast exclusively for the studio, computer exclusively for the studio. And honestly, like, use my TV as the monitor.
Sure, yeah.
To where I've just kind of got like the tower set up either over there, and then I just have the
just wireless
here and
keyboard and stuff, yeah.
But that's the plan, and I just need to get a software that will do it. My Mac's a little old. What I'll probably do is get a new Mac here before long and use it as like our daily computer, and then strip this one down to bare again, put a new hard drive in it, put some additional memory in it, maybe a new upgraded OS on it, and start using it again. So like I need something, but I just like I want it. You don't want like why these people get these super expensive machines. You don't want it to crash. Even Joe Rogan's TriCaster crashes during their live. So the machines will let you do a live stream. Mm-hmm. So it's just like I gotta get basically my computer going into the cameras. Like I have my mic going into the camera.
Right.
So it's interesting learning how to do all this stuff too. That's it's kind of stimulating.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you're going in kind of this direction of, I mean, it's a natural evolution of kind of a lot of your interests. But like since I've gotten home, I've put a lot of time and energy and some money into spending time with my dad, like out in the shop.
Learning all sorts of sustainability, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, like picking up some metalworking stuff and woodworking.
Don't you like work at a metal shop?
I do. I work cutting and bending aluminum and stainless steel so it can be welded on to like boats and stuff like that. So
wild.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more wild if like you see all of my education and life choices and think how did you end up there.
Yeah, but too, didn't you say that? Aren't you about to have your student loans paid off?
Yeah, if I throw everything I have at it right now, I'm down to $6,000 in student
That's awesome,
loans.
dude. You're killing it.
It'll be done by the end of the year, come hell or high water.
Good job, dude.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that.
No,
and too, like no matter where you think you are in life, because didn't you have like a stress-related heart attack or something?
Yeah, that was in June. Like back to the California trip 20 minutes ago.
With
Lupe.
Yeah.
We got food poisoning. At least I did, and I think maybe Lupe or something. I got food poisoning at least. And I'm in the back of this car after having...
Food poisoning from like edibles or...
No. No, from Genghis Grill, a Mongolian hibachi kind of place.
Speaking of the Mongols, we've gone full circle already, 31 minutes in. Yes.
So I get food poisoning. I'm in the back of this car. I take some Pepto, and I just like ride it out from wherever we were in Arizona to California. And when I get there, I'm dying, man. And that day was rough, and then just diarrhea. I never allowed myself to throw up. Can I say diarrhea?
We can't say diarrhea on the podcast. I was about to make a joke, and we could totally say. I was thinking, make that joke right now.
Fuck. But like, I got to where I could walk around, and I was hydrated a little bit, and I went out to to 2 bars. I drank water and ate like 2 French fries. But I was like, you guys got to come out and see me, all my California friends, and. Like, I woke up the next morning on a couch of a friend's where I'd stayed and, like, was feeling a lot better, but still not 100%. But I was like, okay. And his roommate left for work, works for WB. And I lay back on the couch. I'm like, it's 7:30. I'm gonna go back to sleep. Well, like, I started having this real uncomfortable, like, stiffness in my back between my shoulder blades. And that grew into... a heart attack over the next hour and a half, and I went to urgent care, and they're like, you should go to the ER probably, maybe.
Was your blood pressure like through the roof?
No, they took an EKG, and the EKG said he's having or has had a heart attack, but they're like, we're not really understanding this. Maybe you should go to the ER. I'm like, okay. Well, and by the time I had even been seen at urgent care, like the pain, like the numbness in my arm and the pain had gone away. It all subsided. So I go to the ER anyways. I'm like, chest pains. They took 3 more EKGs, took blood, took chest x-rays, and they're like, they still come in and they're like, okay, it looks like you had a heart attack, but that doesn't make any sense to us. Did you take any like cocaine or anything? I'm like, no, I didn't take any cocaine. What are you talking about?
You take any Adderall, anything like that?
No. So,
I'm telling you, Lupe slipped you an edible, bro.
Probably.
Had a panic attack. Just kidding, Lupe, if you're listening to this.
Yeah,
I know you would never do things like that.
I doubt he would. We're just going to leave it there as well. You're welcome, Lupe. Well, my blood results finally came back, and they're like, holy shit. And they, like, all of a sudden, there's 8 people in my room, and I'm naked under a gown, and there's this middle-aged lady who's funny and nice.
She's
and
your
very
nurse.
Polite. No, well, she's one of the 6, and she's now shaving my pubes.
Oh my God!
I've got this young, kind of cute girl here.
They gave you a catheter?
No. What they did was they did an angiogram, which is where they stick a tube up your artery in your groin up to your heart.
So you had no blockage, though?
No, what happened was there was a spasm in one of my arteries in my heart, which cut off almost entirely the blood flow to my heart for a few minutes, and that's what caused cardiac arrest, basically. And
they have no idea what caused it?
Stress is the only word that they can use for it, and they have no idea what caused the stress. There's just
do you feel like you're stressed out? Well, have you? Because like when I heard that, I was like, oh, he's having a hard time or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, do you feel super stressed? Because I mean, damn, dude, you only owe the federal government $6,000. You're single, 30. You 30?
Yeah.
Single 30-year-old man. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever the fuck you want, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like I'm kind of envious of your state in life.
I'm going to be restarting life again at no debt and a little bit of money in my pocket and
dude,
just the world.
That's huge.
It's a little daunting, actually. It's kind of overwhelming.
You could be anything.
I could. I think at this point, I look at people like you or like Drew and Brandy, and I just think I would kill for at least somebody to be starting over with. You know, like there's just, like I had said earlier,
loneliness is a thing, dude, for sure.
It is. I think I experience it. I'm an extreme extrovert. There's a person out there that might disagree with that, but she can shut the hell up. And I
well too, so like when you get that friend that's your life partner or whatever, it's like that you extrovert with them, or you introvert with them rather, in a way. Like it's wild. It's like Corey and I are super outgoing, but I mean, we kind of just want to be here with each other.
Right.
You know?
You guys, y'all's introvert time is together, which I think is healthy for a marriage. I think it's weird that we've gone into the extreme individualism zones of like, well, I need a break from my husband. I mean, cool, like make your relationship work however you want to, but maybe there's something going on there. And I won't pick at that scab too much. But I need people in order to live life with. And right now, all of my friends, yourself included, like, you've all got things that you're doing, and I'm just trying to do a certain list of things that don't really tie me to any place or any kind of rhythm of life, really.
Have you ever thought about starting a podcast?
No.
Dude, I just listened to...
I've thought about doing YouTube stuff.
I shared it on... I've got 170 videos on our gym YouTube. So, like, I was feeling like I was late to the game. I'd started the YouTube over a couple of times when we moved gyms and stuff. Yeah. And then I was like, no, like, I want people to see the evolution. Like, I've just, like, I did some classes on YouTube, and like I said, I'm taking this master class. But I shared a video just today by Dan Carlin, the hardcore history guy, Wrath of the Cons. And he talks about amateur content. I first heard him talking about it on Joe Rogan's podcast, but he gave a TED talk. It's like 15 minutes long. And he was saying that, like, in like the 80s and 90s, if you have a sitcom and you have if you drop to like 5 million viewers, you're getting canceled. Now, almost all sitcoms have 5 million or less viewers.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean,
however,
there were fewer channels.
Exactly. But, in a way. But I mean, think like even when we were growing up and our parents had cable, we still had like, like 98 channels or something.
Less money per viewer.
Well, so like now, like the move is this. Put amateur content out that you can make yourself that's free. Be authentic and real with it. Upload it into these platforms, and they, through their algorithms, distribute it to the audience. You don't even have to do anything typically. Like I have to do, if I want to access social media, but I just had it pulled up before we started, like something like 40% of my reach is just organic suggested views on YouTube. So people watching other podcasts, same thing. That's how like Apple's iTunes works, is they just, so like my audio audience is huge. But like if you go look at some of the videos on YouTube and some of the shows and some of the podcasts that have hundreds of thousands to millions of views per video consistently, they're making bank through that platform, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Podbean, whether it's that they've monetized. So like I'm on Spotify now with this podcast, so that's like my first effort to monetization there. But the whole goal my first year is to get the podcast monetized where I can get a couple of sponsors. And like one thing I'm really wanting to get a sponsor for is when we do the music Unraveled shows, to be able to if there's a live concert we would want to go to but we can't. It's like I did a fight companion the other night, to do that with a concert like Widespread Panic at Red Rocks or something, so and we can watch it live, right? But too, I mean, Facebook allows you to do that sometimes. Like some bands live stream their concerts on Facebook. just on a whim. They don't
Right.
advertise they're going to do it. Panic's done that several times. So it's okay. It
Excellent.
happens.
Yeah, sorry.
Sometimes I notice I'm like breathing into the microphone.
Just get real sexy with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, yeah.
anyway,
I have nothing to add to that. I did, but then I lost it when I hit the microphone. I apologize.
it's no worries.
So did you have an agenda? I feel like I've just tangented
No.
you
I
away.
mean,
Okay.
the agenda is to be all over the place, to talk about everything and nothing all
Perfect.
at the same
That's what I
time.
love.
Maybe go full circle a few times, eat a banana,
I'm gonna play with
drink
the banana
water,
for a minute,
drink
actually.
coffee, talk about goals and whatnot. But so when did you go to Europe?
2012, May 1st of 2012.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you went to Europe. How long were you there? Because I feel like you were there forever.
Yeah, May 1st. Well, so I landed in London May 2nd because, time difference and layovers and stuff. Landed May 2nd. I flew out of Dublin January 11th, 2013. So was that some May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December?
7.5 months, something like that.
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, so from London, where the F did you go? Where the F did you stay?
Dude, it was crazy. I landed in London and just I had a backpack on my back.
You knew a few people, right, in Europe?
Not at that point. At that point, I had maybe one or two contacts to get a hold of, one of which was in Spain, one of which was in Turkey.
Wow.
And then the other one was in England. And the one in England, man, I'm exhausted from a long flight, and I'm in London, and I leave the airport, and I'm just like, okay, now what? I had no plan. I had no reservations anywhere. I've got a bag on my back. I'm kind of tired. I walk around for like 6 hours around London, and I find myself in a bank, and I'm just thinking, okay, like, I got to secure some things. You start making a to-do list in order to keep yourself sane. And so it's like, well, maybe I need to transfer all my funds into a European bank, and that would be a better move for me, to help with like ATM fees. Turns out Arvest Bank, free plug here, like just the cheapest thing in the world to use foreign ATMs. Like I paid like $1 or $2 per transaction, and I'd always pull out like 500 of the local currency, and I'd be good for 2 to 4 weeks on that. And, altogether over 8 and that's something months ATM fees, I probably only spent less than $20.
Sweet.
Yeah. Foreign transaction / ATM fees. It was all just kind of like $1 or $2. And I was like, what? This is insane. Because when I got back, I was in Maryland, tried to use an ATM there. They wanted to charge me $4 to take out $20. I was like, no. There's no way.
So I went to a bar the other day that I went to pay the bartender. I ordered my beer and everything.
I apologize to the audience for the tangent nature of this conversation.
But I was like, hey, here's my card. And he's like, oh, there's an ATM over there. And I had to go to the ATM. They charged me like $3.50. I'm like, damn, you guys are in bed with this ATM people,
right,
aren't you?
They own that ATM.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
It was funny, though.
It's genius, though.
So, London.
So, yeah. So, I make it to this bank. It's a Barclay bank. And I'm talking to these two guys who are, in their 20s, maybe 30s. And they're like, let's find you like a hostel or something. And they help me book my first hostel. And I get there, and I just like lay down, and I kind of like have this slight anxiety attack, like panic attack of like, I'm on a precipice looking out over the entirety of like the rest of my life, and I have no idea what to do. And it's terrifying. Like the endless possibilities is terrifying to me. It's almost immobilizing for me.
Yeah, no, it is. It can be very paralyzing, I think. And I think that like when I go give talks to like junior high school students, one of the number one things like I leave there telling them, whether it's like a motivational talk or a success talk or whatever, is like, you don't have to have everything figured out. Like just I'm big on just following your passions.
Do a lot of little things that you care about.
Yeah. Like I mean, just that's why like I have like these 5 little spots on the podcast or whatever, 5 little shows I'm doing, but they're all about everything I care about. And I don't do any podcast about shit I don't care about, But I think that there's a lot to be said on just like, so you wanted to go to Europe, so you went to Europe.
Yeah, like, well,
You wanted to go to grad school, so you went to grad school.
I made it halfway through junior year of college and saw that like the majority of my classes were history classes. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be a history major. You know, like I let that guide my way through undergrad, and you can only go through history for so long.
Well, yeah, it was crazy. I thought I was going to be a secondary teacher.
Sure, yeah, I remember.
And then I was like, no, fuck that. I went to observe with Paul Gray, who's a great dude. He actually got Teacher of the Year. There's a picture of him shaking G-Dub's, George W. Bush's hand in the White House. Great guy, but like, and it's not like observing with him made me see like a bad side of things, but it was just... I don't like, I mean, if like, I like that I can go off on a Mongol tangent in my classroom right now and it's okay.
Well, also secondary school.
Yeah,
like,
you can. It's like, write that lesson plan unit number on that chalkboard. And if I come by and it's not on that chalkboard, it better not happen again type of a situation. I just got a feeling that it's like, too, man, it's like there's so many social issues that like even just since we've graduated that are apparent in high schools, like in like the number of kids that go to like our local high school is insane. I mean, it's insane for the number of administrators and teachers that they have. And I'm not saying there's an overcrowding issue. I don't think that there is, but I mean,
some people might say so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just that large of a sampling. It's that much more apparent of the kids that they don't have anything, or they're on free or reduced lunch, or you know, they're living on their buddy's couch or whatever it is.
Right.
It's crazy. But I just decided I didn't want to get into that, so I just was like, well, I'll just get my master's degree. And I think you're marketable for any job because you walk in, you're like, yes, I have a master's degree.
Sure.
Is it in something that is super relatable? No, but it's like it proves that you can put your mind to something over a 7-year period and complete it.
Well, I mean, when I left school, or somewhere around May of 2016, I owed $23,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I owe like 50.
So by the end of this month, I've paid $17,000.
That's huge.
In 2 years.
That's huge. See, that's why I'm getting
towards my loans. Now, a lot of that's like I have my parents' place to crash back at, you know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that is that because I'm not making tons of money, but I'm unwilling to spend money that I don't have, except for on student loans apparently. I'm unwilling to even buy a car. Like I'm not willing to pick up a car.
Yeah, you have a nice car, I noticed.
That's my brother's car.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go.
And CJ living all frivolous.
I will just burn through all of my social
Did you leave him in the car or did you just borrow it? Did CJ stay here? I'm going to go do a podcast.
He's in the trunk. No, there's a thing at Tech, some kind of play that his girlfriend's in. So.
Oh, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, one of my students, Arliss Sprinkle, is Balthazar.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Balthazar. Anyways.
Yeah, he's one of the cronies of one of the guys in one of the families.
The only reason you know the name is because Arliss told you.
His mom told me.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Balthazar. He told me too, yeah.
Sure.
But, yeah, cool.
Missed that first time around reading Romeo and Juliet. I would have never known Balthazar was there.
Mrs. Ushery's class, if I'm not mistaken, right? Senior English?
Nope, that would have been 9th grade with Fikes. That's when we saw the film
with the titties. Yeah. Oh, what a great memory. That is the first thing that popped into my head. Yeah. Dude, when you're in 8th grade?
9th grade.
9th grade, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That was hilarious. That was the most, because it was the 60s, the 1960s version of that movie.
Yeah, I remember Miss Fikes was like,
she's like, I don't give a shit.
Y'all better be mature about this. And like it comes on and we're all just like,
what? Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's too funny, man. That's too funny. I've got Miss Fikes on Facebook. She recently went through a bout with cancer, but as far as I know, she's
I've heard
kind of
about
recovered
that.
from it.
That's good news. Anyways.
But yeah, man, she was a big influence. I mean, too, like why I want to be into teaching and doing things I do is because there were people that were an influence on me at various points of time in my life, some of which I still have around, some of which have passed away, some of which I'm sure I haven't even met.
Well, I mean, with David, he'd just walk in and tell a story. And I was like, oh my God. I love this. That's why I audited World History 1 and 2 my senior year with him. I was effectively taking 21 hours with him.
We did the same thing. I think you and I both sat in on that Civ class.
Dude,
Civ
I loved
1.
it.
I was actually taking Civ 2 at the time,
Right.
so I had lucked out. But I got to sit in on his Civ 1 class. I took him for Civ 2. I took him for Egypt.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that class.
Man, that summer
class.
course.
Dude, I still remember, like, one of the test questions was like, okay, it's this year and you're in a boat traveling down the Nile. What do you see? You know, it's like, holy shit. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Freaking.
You just have to know.
Hippopotamuses eating Pharaoh over here. Big Nile crocodile.
But yeah, just having David walk in with, like, I don't know, minimal things in his hands.
His gold watch he takes out of his pocket that he's never going to look at.
Never, not once. Not even once.
Did you go to any of his funeral services?
I didn't get to.
I went to I guess that was a funeral, wasn't a visitation. But yeah, dude.
I was there for the farewell lecture, I think, with the chalkboard and everything, like up in Doc Bryan and stuff.
Yeah, that was such a great. Yeah, I filmed that. Man.
But yeah, people like him who just kind of like, oh my God, like, this is impactful. This is a good way of.
Did you ever have Georgina Duncan in class?
I had never had Duncan.
Duncan was an influence on me. I took her for a class. I was like, damn. And she had just stopped being dean and started teaching again. I was like, I love your classes. And I took her for World War II in Vietnam. And then she retired. And I was like, shit. She was done. Yeah. But same thing for Bush. You know who I would really like to have on the podcast is Charles P. Bush. I keep saying it too. I saw him in the coffee house the other day, and I was like,
I took him for 27 credit hours.
Dude, so did I. So did I.
Every class that Charlie Bush taught.
Dr. Roberts made a joke. He was like, you don't need a minor in philosophy. You need a minor in Charlie Bush.
That's right. Because
I didn't take Mitchell for any of those.
No, not a damn thing.
Yeah.
Not a damn thing.
Yeah, no. You should look into that philosophy. I don't know if they need. I heard them talking about something the other day because I was asking if they offered philosophy, and she's like, "Do you have hours to teach that?" And I was like, "No, I don't know. Do I?"
Right.
She's like, "It has to be 18." I was like, "I don't have any post
grad."
Yeah. But as far as I know, they have a couple. I think they have philosophy and world religions. So, I mean, they have all your base level stuff like American government.
Yeah, give me 6 months.
US 1 and 2,
I can be a
Civ 1 and
semi-expert
2.
just about anything in 6 months. You
Yeah.
know? That's what my kind of degrees mean.
Yeah. You know, too, like, I can almost guarantee you could march up to tech and just get a GA and take, like, a couple of classes and exert minimal effort on a part-time basis, make a 4-point, and be able to do, because if it's 18 hours, I know that they will cross audit some of your classes and count them over.
How many hours did you have to do for your master's at Tech?
30.
30? Good God.
31, 27, something like that. I mean, dude, it was nothing.
I was on a quarter system, right? So we were doing four terms a year. My
That's pretty much. I took one semester off, but that's pretty much how I did
my MAT
summers.
was 96 credit hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, because I had all that secondary education background, which I like to brag about when I'm talking to people in academic circles and on my podcast.
Sure.
I graduated with like 164 credit hours, and you have to have like 120 to graduate or something. 124.
Yeah.
But I had like maybe 170, maybe. It was a shit ton. Way more than I was supposed to have. But man, like all of that was like, those are like my formative years, I feel.
Right.
Like like I talk about this a lot. I don't feel like most people until they're 23 to 25 have like developed their frontal lobe.
Yeah.
And even after that, you could still be an asshole and lose it, you know?
It's true. I think also Dykema was a huge...
Dude, Dykema's, yeah.
You know, like...
I enjoyed his classes. I really remember you took him for Reformation, Renaissance.
I took him for History of Christianity as well. And, like, it was a great class.
Yeah, I wanted to take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did want to take that. We should go sit in on it. Yeah, I did want to take that. I forgot that he taught that.
I got 2 minors, a philosophy minor and an English minor, and I was going for that religious studies minor. Would have had it, but they wanted me to take anthropology, and I was like...
I took anthropology. Here's the reason I didn't take religious studies is because the guy who is actually got let go from Tech that taught... Intro to World Religion. No, it was what was it?
Don't defame people.
Sociology of Religion. That's what it was.
Oh, that sounds fun.
He owned a martial arts school, and I didn't feel like I would get a fair nod if I took that class, and I had a really good GPA, and I didn't want to end up with a C or some crazy shit, or just like him be a total crazy person.
In town.
Yeah, but he ended up like he's opened and closed gyms like 2 or 3 times since I've been in business, and like it was really weird. He would never acknowledge me or talk to me. And the very first thing he ever said to me is when I was in graduate school working for the dean, and he's like, "Oh, something about martial arts school, jiu-jitsu," and I was just like, "That's what you open up with?" Like, I've been working here for like 5 years, you know, like. But it was just kind of awkward. Like, I never really like went up to him. But it's like we also like we do boxing, kickboxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, and MMA. Mm-hmm. Well, they were just a judo school.
All right.
So it's like to him, I'm trying to dip my hand in his honey pot or something, because he does judo and I do judo, and he couldn't live with that. I don't know. Right.
Well, he feels it's like it's it's
healthy.
I'm a one sport person. You're a tri-sport person. How about you just stay in your lane over there and give me my one thing? I'm sure that there's some amount of bitterness, especially if you're doing it better than he is.
That was probably the main point of contention. I wouldn't even say that. I mean, dude's got legit knowledge and stuff, but sure. I've never been out to get anybody.
Well, he could be better at judo than you. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that he's got a better business model than you do.
Yeah, that's like I joke all the time. I'm training this boxer right now named Timothy, and
that's not real. That's not real.
Have you ever seen the Key and Peele substitute
there's not
teacher?
Real.
Yeah. Everybody gets a nickname, Petey. But so Timothy is like 17. He's that kid I mentioned with the truck and the driver's license.
Oh, cool.
So
this guy's real. Okay.
He's a real person and is a total savage with his hands. Like, I work with him a couple hours a week, a lot of weeks, and he's been training me almost 2 years. But in terms of boxing, like, he is just just like getting lethal. I can't wait to see him progress even more. He's had like 6 fights this season, I believe. So there's one time in 4 weeks he fought 3 times. So he's just an amateur, but he's getting lethal. Like, when he spars with people, it's just like, oh. But people see that, and then that just raises the level of the whole team too. Really, right. That's like, oh, that level exists. We want to be like him. So people watch him, model after him. Yep. Oh, that works for him. I can make that work for me. But I'm just like, yeah, Tim, you got a little bit more to go before you're just totally better than me. But then I'm gonna take you down and choke that ass. Like, he's like, his boxing, like I said, there's gonna come a day where like he's always like, that's what people sometimes don't realize is like, it doesn't matter how good you are. Yeah. You ain't gonna train yourself. You can to an extent, but like, having a coach is such a priceless relationship to have. Yeah. And that's why I was just talking to one of my coaches today about loyalty and how, like, with like younger people, it's like a big issue. Like, we kind of joke around about, like, for what we do, the 18 to 25-year-old market being a little weaker and like some of the stuff we offer. And it's like people kind of like over that 25-year mark are like a lot more consistent, a lot more mature, a lot more financially stable.
Your values and your interests and what's important to you, they all change.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, that's why in September of 2016 I left LA. I came home and I was like, I'm gonna invest time in my family.
How stressful was living in LA, bro?
Fuck LA.
Yeah, dude, I could not live there. Just the traffic alone. Did you drive on the 405 every day?
No, absolutely not. I lived basically on the 210, which is a nightmare and a half. But yeah, I drove a few times, more than a handful of times in LA. I got used to the traffic. I drive like I'm in LA on 40, so that's interesting. But yeah, I lived in Pasadena, which is like basically this protected bowl of windless heat and death, and it's just most of LA it's a cool place to visit. Like, you can spend a cool like 3 or 4 or 5 days there and like have fun, but you gotta get the hell out. Because
I'm trying to go back here in the next few months to visit my buddy Jack. So
yeah, I mean, it's a great place to visit. I actually enjoy going back to it now that I don't live there anymore. But living there sucks.
Yeah, traveling there the first couple of times for me was pretty stressful too, just because it's so different. Like driving there, I remember driving there. We got a rental car the first time I went. It's like I'd never even seen the Pacific Ocean.
Times. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was I was like 20, maybe 25 or 26 or something when I jumped in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool moment.
Yeah, that's when I moved out there. It was
and
when we were 25,
some salt water, and I was like,
old.
damn, this tastes horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you kind of burp it up afterwards.
The waves just take you down. The ocean, sharks, stuff.
Yeah, see, no, like Cora wants to go like diving underwater caves and shit. I'm like, what is the matter with you? Yeah. There are sharks in that water.
Yeah, when I was in Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula, I was in a place called Dahab, and it's like the place where like all the locals go instead of was it Sharm el Sheikh or something like that, which is another place that's I don't remember. Anyways, there's a place where all the Russians go that has a resort and like parasailing and all the fun things, and there's the place where all the Egyptians go, but there's also one or two dive spots there that people go and get certified to dive really cheap, and they dive there. There's like a blue hole there. There's like a couple of blue holes around the world, but this one,
I think I've seen the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of the more dangerous spots in the world to do scuba diving.
See, like I've seen photos, and apparently there's all of this stuff underwater, and like right in there at Giza and stuff, like right in the like Abu Qir Bay and in the Nile and and in the Med both, like all throughout the Med, like whether they were on islands or what. But a guy that I follow named Graham Hancock is like reported on a lot of this stuff. But there's like I want to say like even a sphinx at the bottom of the Nile. There's like all of these underwater.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
not that you could see it since the Nile is basically green.
That, but too, imagine like how many people you probably don't have diving in the Nile because of like the crazy shit that's in there.
Well, ironically, my time in Cairo, like you see children jumping off of boats into the Nile, just playing around. And like you automatically think like, wait a minute, I've seen movies, there are alligators in that.
David Krieger told me about the pharaohs getting eaten. Yeah,
exactly, right? But then you look at the water and you think, dear God, get out of the water. What are you doing? Even if there are no animals, which I don't know how they would live in that habitat because it's so filthy. Like, get out of there, you're gonna get staph or something, you know. Like, see,
I've heard people in that area. Like, I had some Egyptian students that came here as like refugees, and they were saying that they're like, oh, you see that burger that's been in the fridge for 4 days, and you're like, that might make me sick, and we're like, might make my immune system better. Hand that here. like they're just like, it's an opportunity to strengthen myself if it's questionable. I'm like he did like actually explained it to me that way. He's like, you think this way, I think this way, and I was like, damn, dude. Yeah. And then he was also this. Are
they actual Copts? Are they Arabs? Or are they some mix? You don't know.
I don't know, but like they had a weird story. Like
there are two different cultures.
They were from Egypt, but they had like the kids had grown up in Dubai.
Okay.
And like apparently you can migrate to Dubai while your kids are under 18, but when they turn like 16 or 18, if they don't get accepted to school or something, you have to move back to wherever you're from. Mm-hmm. Well, during that time that they were supposed to move back was like the Arab Spring had happened or some crazy shit. So like they got displaced and ended up coming here, and
well, that was nice.
First they ended up going to like New Jersey. That's where they got, and then ended up coming here for some reason because I think one of the older brothers, the one that turned 18 or 16 first, whichever age it was getting an engineering degree at Tech.
Oh, yeah.
So he could go back and work in Dubai, fastest growing city in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy just how many like Jordanian princes come to Tech.
Did you go? Yeah,
Conway.
I know. Yeah, there's one. There's a guy. He's from Kuwait right now, but he drives like a freaking Corvette, and like this cherry red, beautiful Corvette. And he done judo in Kuwait. And
of course he does.
His name's Salman.
Of course it is. Why not?
He's like, but my friends call me Enzi.
Oh, it should be just Saul.
And I was like NZT, like that, like Limitless. Wasn't that called NZT?
Sounds
Did you ever see that movie, Bradley Cooper? Such a good movie, dude. Such a good movie.
Is that, who's that? Robert De Niro? No. Who's that? Who plays opposite? That tries to get like steal his stuff.
Oh, the crazy Russian guy. Right?
No. The guy that's trying to outmaneuver him. That whole
Man, I do want to watch that again. I've seen it several times.
Okay.
Dude, let's just look it up. That's a good freaking movie. If you haven't seen it, it's Limitless with Bradley Cooper. Just a second. Let me send this text.
Oh, good Lord. All right. So,
Limitless.
I'm telling you, man.
Man, I don't have my Wikipedia app. I just got a new phone. I got to download it. Did you ever watch the TV show they made? It was like a Netflix original or something.
No. Yeah, I saw that, but no.
Let's see. 2011 American science fiction. It was Robert De Niro.
Hey!
Look at you, dude. Look at you.
Domination.
Yeah, Robert De Niro. Who was the other guy? Who was the bad guy that was the Russian that was after him? That dude did an incredible job. Cast. Johnny Whitworth, maybe. Anyway. Yeah, that was a fantastic movie.
It was.
I really enjoyed it.
It was good. If only, things like that existed.
Some people would say they do.
Maybe they do.
There's this stuff out there called nootropics. It's actually, there's tons of nootropics, but what they are is like certain mushrooms have nootropic effect, like lion's mane and shiitake and others. I'm learning a lot about this right now, but like, you ever heard like, oh, if you smoke that weed, it's gonna kill your brain cells and you're gonna be a burnout? That's actually not necessarily how it works. We're going to kill brain cells all the time.
Yeah.
And our neural pathways are even going to get fucked up. Mm-hmm. And you can rewire yourself, produce new brain cells through exercise, through nutrition. Yeah. So these nootropics will, along with exercise and a healthy lifestyle, will help facilitate this process called neurogenesis, where you're actually producing new brain cells.
Yeah, neurogenesis. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was a topic I've been recently fascinated by. There's a guy named Paul Stamets out there. I've talked about him a couple of times on the podcast. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, so I heard about him. But he's done a TED Talk, and all of his research is on sort of the cognitive benefits of various types of mushrooms, not just psilocybin. This is kind of like, he's kind of like you take like marijuana and CBD. CBD is a non-psychoactive, but it has these physical benefits. Right. Like Cora takes it. It's federally legal. Mm-hmm. But like it helps her big time, like stress and anxiety.
Tanya Peden sells it.
Is it the Hemp Works?
I think it might be, yeah.
Yeah, did she take it?
I think she is using it in some kind of. I think she's even tried to use it on my dog before.
Yeah, no, doggy drops.
Sure. I'm like, don't give my dog stuff because she's never like on the pulse of what's good for my dog or what's not good for my dog. But
yeah, dude, my dog, like, he ran off one night. Like, it's the coldest night. It was like literally the coldest night all year around here. Yeah. And it was like even snowing a little bit. There's snow on the ground. And it was like right when I was like my second day to teach class at Morrilton too, because they canceled my first class I was supposed to teach. We're starting at 10 today because of the ice or whatever. So he runs off for like 5 hours and he comes trotting back up and he's got like icicles hanging from his fur and stuff. And like just 2 days earlier, he had this spurt where he kept running off. Yeah. And we got a shock collar for him. But even after the shock collar, he got away a couple of times because this or that. Like the collar is too loose on him. But then like this pond back here is totally frozen over. And so he like ran out on it and then fell in. And I'm like, dude, luckily he's a lab and can swim like a beast. Right. But, he was like 6 months old at the time. And, it's just like super stressful with him getting out, but he came trotting back up. And from that little episode, he got a parasite, worms, and staph infection. I'm just like, dude, you just cost me like $170, you asshole.
Yeah. What a jerk.
Sowing his wild oats. There's this little German shepherd. It's probably about the same age as him around here, and bad influence. Like he waits at the edge of the yard and tries to get him to bolt off with him.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Dogs, man. What are you going to do?
Pupper Man. That's his nickname.
Pupper?
Pupper Man. Okay. Sometimes we just call him P Man.
Sure.
Or just P. I like to do like Puff Daddy.
Why not just Puh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it.
So I think we left off in London.
Yeah.
London, the ATMs in London.
Yeah, and my entire life before me and
Narvis Bank.
The crushing the crushing weight of just infinite possibilities. I made it to Oxford. I just said, okay, look, I'm going to go see the things I wanted to see. Like, I'm not going to let this emotional, like, weight drop down on me. And the whole time, like, this girl that I would later date and want to marry, like, is pretty much my only contact with the outside world. And like,
was she here or there?
She was here. Do
I know this person?
No. Anyway, so like if I needed to get a hold of my mom or something, I would text her and be like, hey, can you tell my mom to blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so that's building that relationship to kind of make that connection. Anyway, so I've got one person in the world that I'm talking to at that point, right? So, because everybody else is kind of hard to track down, and, you know, it's hard to have a social life when you're not really sure what you're doing from day to day. So I go to Oxford, I get a hostel for, like, just stupid amounts of money. There are parts of the world that are just too stupid.
Expensive or cheap?
Yeah, like, well, the hostel, like, my bed was like £20 or something, £23, which is at that time was like $30, which is, I can stay in London for like $15-20 every night of the week.
Nice.
You might have to move around in different parts of the city, but like you can do it. And so, but you know, small town. Get to Oxford, call my one contact in England, break down crying to the guy because he's just like, hey man, see what you want to see and then get out here and let's get you straightened out and like get your feet underneath you. And I just broke down
what feet? I don't have any feet.
Yeah, and just like I kind of landed. I didn't realize, but emotionally, like the toll of like, I don't know what to do, and then somebody saying, hey, you're not alone. It's like, oh wow, okay. So I did that, and I just started, doing the vacation.
So how old were you when you got over there? Like, was 2012?
25, bro. 25.
So
right?
This is your coming of age moment.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
But you just like your frontal lobe probably fully developed at that instance. You're like, I am a man.
Yeah, exactly. And I rode a bike 30 miles one way to Plymouth and then 30 miles back. That was a terrible decision. Made some friends in Plymouth, England. I just did a whole lot of like not tourist stuff, but like semi-tourist stuff.
Didn't you like walk? You walked all the way across the continent, pretty much? Did you not?
Well, I mean, I put in a lot of miles walking. I put in quite a few miles hitchhiking. But I did a lot of coaches, like a lot of buses, long distance buses around England. Hit up hostels, slept in.
Did anybody slash your Achilles heel or anything while you were in a hostel?
Thankfully, no. Yeah,
like the movie.
I've never seen those, and everyone brings them up every time I bring up the word.
That's the one thing I remember is like they cut the Achilles heels of this person, and then they stood up, and like it was like like their body. I know, dude. I know.
Surely. Anyway, that's disgusting. I can't deal with that. There was Anyways, I'm okay.
All right, I can't stop thinking about it. Woosah, which is take the headphones off and Woosah and Martin Lawrence. Somebody the other day was like quoted the movie Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy, and I was like, what's that from? And he was like, Life, Eddie Murphy, and I was like, what a drop, dude! I haven't seen that movie in like 5 years. He was like, oh, I bought it, it's good.
Was it the cornbread quote? Because I feel like that's the only thing anyone ever quotes.
I don't even remember what he quoted because it's been so long since I saw it, and I was like, so you just bought it and watched it? He's like, yeah, my wife didn't like it, but whatever.
Yeah, kudos to that guy.
It's a good movie.
Kudos.
No.
Just kind of started busting around, made it over to Ireland, did like kind of the southern coastal route up to Galway, and then hitchhiked back to Dublin and up. And fun fact, when you leave England, they're probably going to correct this if they ever hear this, when you leave England out of Wales, or the UK out of Wales, sorry Wales, over into Dublin, they stamp you into Ireland in Dublin, which takes you out of the UK off of your tourist visa. If you're counting days and stuff like that. Oh, I'm running out of days in the UK. Well, just go to Ireland and then go straight up to Belfast and then take the ferry from Belfast to Scotland. They don't stamp you into Scotland, so you're technically still in Ireland, but you're not in Ireland. You're back in the UK because there's no border crossing at Belfast. I'm screwing up all the borders now.
If people can watch season 3 of Sons of Anarchy, if you have any questions, it's set in Belfast.
Yeah, there you go.
Goes into all this.
And you just cross. You take a bus from Dublin to Belfast, and you're back in the UK. No stamp required, and now you're in the UK without a stamp, and everyone's cool with it. So welcome to being in the UK indefinitely without any kind of problem. If immigration's like, how long have you been here? Just say, oh, well, I just caught the ferry a couple days ago. And you're set. Done and over with. You're in the UK indefinitely. But, then came down from Scotland back into,
Did you go to Stonehenge?
I did. I got kicked out of Stonehenge.
What for? Graffiti?
No. No, not graffiti.
Peeing?
There's little walkways, and they're like little roped off, and there's
You
a
hopped
sign.
over the rope.
There's a sign that says
Don't hop over the rope.
Don't stay on the grass or whatever. And so I'm with a friend of mine who's taking me there, and I jump over and I lean down next to the sign, and then I jump back, and this old white guy.
A druid.
It's this old hippie.
Nowhere.
He's this old hippie dude, and he's with Stonehenge, and he's just red hot mad at me, and he's coming over. People wouldn't do this in a church, and I just thought to myself, well, you obviously have not seen me in a church. Like I would definitely have, because me and the Holy Sepulchre was just as bad.
Oh my God.
It's fine. Don't tell anyone. But yeah, like. He's like, we just don't know. I'm like, okay. And I was just real chill with him. Like, he had a lot of valid points, but I was just stepping on the grass. Apparently, you can be fined for even putting a tripod down in the grass, like with spikes to go into the grass. Mm-hmm. Like, they fine people for that.
Did you get fined?
I did not get fined. I just got kicked out. It was worth the £8, honestly. But the person I was with had been there as a child, not even 20 years prior. We're talking like 15 years prior. And at that point in time, they were just able to go up and hug the stones and do whatever they wanted.
Somebody probably did graffiti it.
Well, I mean, those stones have been there for 5,000 plus years, and
it's not like we're the first people.
Yeah, exactly. To go touch them or anything. Well, and ironically, I think the birds are. Hello, dog. Dog. The birds are doing more damage to Stonehenge right now than anything.
Mirror.
We have Pupperman's finally made his debut on the podcast.
How did you open the door?
He has opposable thumbs.
Opposable.
They're actually just these crazy claws. All right.
That's a huge dog.
Pupperman has made his debut.
And he's gone.
My dog's name is Hickson, after the great Hickson Gracie. That's spelled with an R.
Spell with a what?
An R.
An R. Wait.
In Portuguese, you turn your R's to H's.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Respect.
Okay.
It's respect.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just in all Portuguese, or is that in like Brazilian Portuguese?
I think it's all Portuguese, but it could just be Brazilian.
Interesting.
Yes. One thing I kind of skirted over that I want to hit more on next time is I didn't go into Portugal really at all in my class. Felt bad. I didn't even talk about Prince Henry the Navigator.
Yeah, let's be honest. No one really talks about Portugal at all. We just kind of assume it was part of Spain.
I did when I talked about taking African slaves from Portugal to Brazil.
You have to
because
talk about that
was like, man, that was a 2-year journey.
Well, when you get to the transatlantic slave trade, you have to talk about.
Yeah,
all
that's
the
what I just covered, bro. That's exactly what I called it. That's what it's called in the book.
You have to talk about all the players, the Dutch and the Portuguese.
Yeah, the Dutch were major players.
Yeah,
it's crazy how much. I'm about to get. So next class, I'm covering Louis' Wars of Devolution.
Devolution?
Yeah, that's what they call them. I don't know why. I've got to look it up why.
Sure.
But it's basically, and he's Wars of Devolution, Wars of Spanish Succession, and I think it's Wars of Devolution where he's in. But anyway, Louis goes to war with the Dutch, and they flood their own country to drive him out. Remember that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, bro.
They're hardcore. I love the Dutch because, like, right now in the States, you think of the Dutch and you think of, like, like making...
Gold member.
Like, well, I guess if you're that old, yeah. Yeah, if you're our age, that is what you think. But you think of, like, the Amish or something like that, or, like, people coming over and, like, making crafts and things like that. Oh, the Dutch or something, clogs
Are the
shit.
Are the Amish anti-Baptist?
You mean Anabaptist?
Anabaptist, whatever.
I don't think they're anti
Is it
anybody.
A-N-T-A or is it A-N-T-I?
A-N-A.
A-N-A? Anabaptist.
Yeah, yeah.
But aren't they, but isn't one of their core beliefs is they don't believe children should be baptized? That's why I thought it was anti-Baptist. Okay, so I don't know if it's the Amish or but I think that is a belief that may be held by the Amish and the Mennonites that is also a core belief. It's like the Calvinists, the predestinationers, and so like I just went through the Reformation, so that's why I was excited to have you on, just to be like, what's the fuck is this seminary all about? I actually know a few people that have been through seminary, but not probably like a program like you that's gonna give you a master's degree.
Master's degree in it. Yeah, maybe.
96 credit hours. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Did Dr. Dykema go through seminary?
I
feel like he
don't think so.
My judo sensei did.
His PhD is in like a certain time period in the German priesthood or something like that. Something to do with a certain time period in the German priesthood. So I think that's why he has some kind of connection in Germany. You know, the Lutheran Church in Germany is pretty state tied.
Martin Luther, what an OG.
Always. What a prick.
Did you go to Germany?
Yeah. I've
Did
been
you
to Germany,
did you go to any cool Reformation sites? Or what'd you do? Well, what'd you do after Stonehenge? You got thrown out of Stonehenge. We'll stay in chronological order.
I was in Bath for a while. I took the ferry from Plymouth to Santander, España, and stayed in northern Spain for 2 weeks, and then went to the running of the bulls.
Oh, you did. I remember seeing a post about that.
Yeah,
cool. My favorite part of Spanish history is when Napoleon's brother took it over. Just kidding. It's not my favorite.
Is it not?
Yeah, Spanish history is interesting. Spanish conquest. They really they kind of served as a model for like what not to do with the conquest. Everybody was always looking at what they did and like ripping off the best parts. But they did kind of have the first model, I feel like, in terms of conquest and colonization. And that's whether or not that is how other European nations like Portugal and France and England operated. That's how it's depicted in a lot of survey textbooks, like this Civ book I'm doing, which I like some of that book, man, but some, like the first few chapters I was like, this is crap. But really, like the chapter they have on like the transatlantic slave trade and like absolutism and constitutionalism and the Enlightenment, French Revolution, I'm down with that. Like I don't know if there's just a larger pool of historians that are writing that history. But man, the Reformation chapter was good too. Scientific Revolution chapter, meh. And then like all the earlier stuff on Spanish conquest and
people don't care
the
about
Renaissance.
It anymore.
I just wasn't digging it. I was like the hardest stuff to get into in the book, and I went from a lot of external resources on the earlier stuff.
I mean, but what's sexy right now? Race relations and certain narratives about the root causes of those things. So. You're not going to get a lot.
Dude, what's crazy too is
on Spain being conquered.
The inbreeding and the freaking people in like homosexuality is mind blowing at that time. Like Louis had a brother, Philip. I think he's Philip the First of Orleans, Duke of Orleans.
Is this the one he tried to turn into a woman?
Yeah, no, he was for all intents and purposes raised as a female. And so was gay. And it was known that he was gay and he was accepted, but he did have 2 kids. And yeah, but that's
so that he wouldn't be a threat to Louis's reign.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a genius. Well done. Well done, Louis. Cutthroat old bastard.
The Sun King. There's this dude I follow on YouTube that just does these super funny videos, and he's like, we're going to learn about Louis the 14th. Oh, Louis the Sun King, you say? Yeah. Everyone knows that. Just like, he's talking about Cardinal Richelieu in the 30 Years' War, and he's like, some might say Cardinal Richelieu is riding 30. Like, just make it also like, and you're like listening to it, and then he's like drinks his coffee after he makes a joke. And this dude, I think he works at the same university that Kerry Roberts went to, like Liberty University or something. But he might be like, I don't know. He's in that area, like North Carolina, South Carolina.
I can't deal with that.
But and he's like, you know what? When you're a king, pimping ain't easy. But you know what? Louis made it look easy. And he just like keeps playing on that joke for like 2 of his episodes. But pretty much that dude just took what he's doing every day and just hit record.
Yeah.
And that's amateur content. And that is I'm just super into that idea right now.
Yeah. Well,
that guy's getting hundreds of thousands of views on every video. And he's making that's hundreds of dollars in a paycheck.
That's encouraging to me. Like that people are actually tuning into that kind of content. Because I feel like right now, the biggest weakness that we have in the West, in the world, is just knowledge about history.
Yeah.
When you start boiling down like things to like, okay, well, it was this is the one thing that drove everything.
Well, the Civil War was fought on states' rights. I mean, that's irrefutable.
I wasn't about to bring this up, but I mean, like, yeah, like, but when you boil it down to like, it would be ignorant to say that the Civil War was fought over just states' rights. That's it. It would
There's
be
a lot of people in our area, sadly, that say that. There was somebody on my, and they were an elder gentleman, and I had the respect to not comment on it, but they're a Civil War reenactor.
Oh, sure.
And they were arguing about all of that, and I'm like, man.
Okay, so the reality is like the states' rights to own slaves. I mean, so it's both.
It is both, but it's like, I mean,
it's both.
But
it's also, you know what it's not? You know what it's not? It's not the enlightened northern states going on some kind of jihad. It's not.
I know, right?
Like, it's not. They are not this pristine, like, ethical, like, group of people who are coming in to save some kind of third world country's population. It's not that. And it's not that because what happens after? What happens after the Civil War? These
Jim Crow, bro.
Well, no, not even the South. What happens in the North? What happens in the Union states? The enlightened North that is wanting these people to be free and is wanting,
I would like to see a study on lynchings post-Civil War in North and South.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, just all of the gentrification of the northern cities shows exactly, like, the attitude of the North. Like, it wasn't some kind of, like, oh, we know better, and our way of life is clearly superior to yours, so we have to correct this atrocity that you're doing. I think that's usually where it goes when people say that the Civil War was fought over slavery. It wasn't fought over some kind of, like, social injustice or something like that.
Did you watch the Abraham Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis?
I did not.
This is this dude's intro.
Oh, good Lord.
This dude. Tom Ritchie's his name, but dude's cracking me up.
What is...
Let me teach you a little bit more.
What is that painting in the back?
I don't know. It says dance like a penguin, though. I don't know. And he has, like, multiple... So, like this is what I'm trying, like I could do this in my office. So
yeah.
he's...
Do you have, like, a head of... Is that a David head? What is that? What's up with the messed up
I don't know.
nose? I love how he's
Lily
drinking
flower.
tea.
Yeah, he's always... So what I'm trying to do on the production side is get to where this pulls up in the corner of the video without me having to edit it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't.
You don't. I could literally...
Like, watch how he skirts over Joan of Arc right here. And then a girl finds a sword in the field. We're watching Tom Ritchie's Louis XIV video on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it. Watch this. Here's good. They're not important. Pants.
Put on some pants. That's excellent.
This goes right back into... But yeah, this dude keeps me interested because literally he does every major topic a little bit more in depth than my book does it. So I can get on some of his lectures every now and then and like get some filler.
Right.
For just like another, just kind of like an overview source.
Yeah,
so.
If you're going to be a dynamic professor or orator, you've got to surround yourself with other people doing that kind of stuff. Like it's like the master apprentice thing. Like you can't coach yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, I mean, I've been talking with Jeff Woods a fair amount about teaching my class. I mean, the way I do my test, my history class, but the way I do the test, the way I do the lectures, the way I do the PowerPoints, everything, it's just an amalgamation of all the favorites ways that all of my mentors and professors over the years have done things.
Sure.
Like I read you the whole test the day before you take it, just like Charlie Bush did.
I think that's so kind.
Yeah. And then the people that don't show up for that are idiots. And I tell them about it. Like there's one time a guy didn't show up for like 2 days, and he's like walked up and he had like all his makeup work and like gave it to me, and I'm like, you suck.
Makeup
and he
work.
was like, I'm sorry. So check this out. Here's what kind of sucks.
That's kind of you.
I didn't yeah, well it's like I'm like, look, you guys, you got to get me these assignments in, okay? Like I don't want to have to. I just want to give everybody 100% on the homework, so I don't have to physically grade it. So they make me give 300 points of essentially, like, some people just call it attendance, but like participation. But then the only two things they make you use in Blackboard is attendance checking and the grade book. So I have to give 300 bullshit points to everybody.
See, I feel like what I want to do is just teach a survey class at World Civ 1 or 2 at Tech, and just like set up my online class to say, and you could do this in a physical class doing lectures, but just say, okay, here are all of your assignments. There will be, an essay test, at this time. You have to have this assignment done by, and you could just say like, all of those assignments need to be done by the end of the semester. Good luck. Have these 3 papers into me by
well, what I do
this date, and this date.
Is I assign them these little 20 hey, you touch your own mic stand, okay?
I will. Yeah.
But I have to give them these 300 points, so I'm just like, hey, write me half a page over the French Wars of Wars of Religion. And they're like, okay, and then they just like
go and
like I talked about syphilis a whole bunch and the transatlantic trade. Slave trade and the Columbian Exchange and everything, because a lot of people think syphilis came that, and then I segued into. So, do you know where the powdered wig comes from?
I don't.
Okay, so Louis XIV, the Sun King, you say, had syphilis.
Okay.
And
does syphilis make you go bald?
It makes your hair thin, like horrible comb over style, and they wanted to have
so
like our kind of hair.
Bigger question now is Parliament. Like in that,
so it became a tradition, but it started. Louis apparently was the first person to come up with the idea of the powdered wig, and then other monarchs that were like his cousins and stuff
started picking it up.
Yeah, okay. Someone said.
So it's not to say that all of Parliament for the last 300 years has just been.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in America, people started wearing.
Right. Yeah.
It
George
became
Washington
a trend.
Didn't have syphilis. I'm supposing.
Well, Louis XIV would send these dolls with like French wardrobes on them all throughout Europe, so people could keep up with the latest French fashions.
Interesting. I think I remember that.
Yeah, but crazy.
Obviously, I didn't get a doll.
This dude, he talks about, I think it's Charles II, I can't remember, but he's like, and Charles II dies and leaves no heir because he's what we call inbred level 5. And he's like, see, and and he like breaks down and he's like, so Charles was sterile. Moving on. I'm like, and he's like, at some point Mother Nature just cuts you off and you're done.
You're done.
There is no inbred level 6. But have you seen some of the Habsburg rulers and how their draws were like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like pretty much all of. I mean, have you seen the current Prince of Wales?
No.
The people like.
What's the name?
The British. What is it?
Prince Harry?
No, that's the other.
I don't know.
Oh, is he currently the?
I was gonna type in Prince of Wales.
The Duke of Cornwall. Let's do that.
Charles, Prince of Wales.
Charles. Is that? Who am I thinking of? I always get these things.
Is that guy?
Yeah, that's
he does have a little bit of a jaw.
Is that?
Oh yeah, right there for sure.
There you go. Yeah. Look at any of the
Prominent
royal family
chin.
actually at this point, and you look at 3 generations and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just trying to.
And then you listen to some of the older ones talk, and it gets a little interesting.
Yeah, see, I really want to be able to
love them. Love the royal family.
The bottom of the video.
Love the royal family.
I think it's Charles II. I want to show you a picture of him. He's pictured in the book, and they talk about his inbredness. Maybe it's not Charles II. Maybe it was Louis XIII.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, kids. There's no way that you can keep up with all the names, considering Charles II happens in 4 different European
Charles
countries.
IIs.
Get over it.
I'm going to say Habsburg
Dynasty.
King Jaw.
King Jaw.
The first thing that came up was... okay, yes, it is... the family in Spain that displayed 3 generations of the Habsburg jaw. There's actually a name for it. Oh. And I'm trying to see who is pictured here because this is who I was wanting to talk about.
Indubitably.
Do you know who this person is?
Well, as soon as I see a picture. No.
I'm pretty sure it's a man.
Not by face. It is
Habsburgs
painting,
were a
though. It was
dynasty
painting.
that brought suffering and eventual ruin on themselves through inbreeding. Their most famous feature was the Habsburg jaw. In the 1980s, a family in Spain with similar facial features gave scientists a better look at a very old genetics puzzle. 1660s, a Habsburg, that's like right where I'm at right now in my class. Habsburg's family was immensely powerful, and they had slowly but surely consolidated parts of what is now Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Spain. So I'm about to have the Wars of Spanish Succession into an empire, and by 1700 it would all end.
Yeah.
Part was due to the natural ebb and flow of power, no stem from marriages.
So how are you dealing with Islam in both like
Bro, that is not Western Civ, okay?
Well, okay, so
we kicked them out, and that's the only way we deal with it. That's what the book said, man. I'm just paraphrasing.
So like there are 2 points of contact at least. 3 really later on as you get into World War One. 3 of them, but there are 2 points of contact, i.e. Spain, heavily Spain.
Yeah, it is
Moors,
crazy how it gets skirted over a little bit.
And the Muslim slave trade out of Africa over a 1,000-year period.
Don't even hit on it.
Don't even touch it. Not even.
But
everything
with this book,
we have nothing to do with the massive
but it's
amounts
only,
of millions of slaves pulled out of Africa by the Muslims.
But it's only within. It's because they don't consider the Muslims part of the Western world. That's the difference in Western Civ and World Civ.
Is this one of those racism, colorism things?
Gotta be.
I'm really upset about
It's a community college, bro. We can't. We can't get too upset. Well, I think we should pause and go pee pee.
Okay, I'm down. I'm gonna take this sweater off.
Oh
too.
yeah, and 2, is this full on hot air? Not too much.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that my ears just stopped burning like 10 minutes ago.
Hey, you're a monster. You're a monster.
Hey, Cora, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm suffering right now. I'm not really good at walking.
Yeah?
I'm hungry.
Oh.
I'm hungry. Come here with your scratchy bone. That's like a lethal bone. It hurts. Scratchy.
His feet.
Hi. Are you so happy?
He's getting so big so fast that he doesn't even know how to deal with his body yet. That's why he's all floppy.
He's only, let's see.
10 months is what Brian's been saying.
10 and 11 days.
Who's knocking on the door out here?
Well, it's probably just the dogs.
Oh, it's my tail! Oh.
Lethal.
Hi. You're about to go for a run and you don't even know it. You're about to go for a run. You're definitely playing. Oh, Dad. He jumps on the couch every time. Must be love on the brain.
You called, boy. I thought you were even through.
No, so Jessica had to move before. So I'll be leaving at 4. Well, 3:45. 15 minutes.
That's my boy.
He's about to go, Dad.
Wrong thing.
Hey, come check this out. Gigi.
Yeah.
Alright. Fixing. You know what tax?
Dynamics? Oh.
Did you see what Jack sent me?
No.
That's what Jack sent you?
Yeah, what was that?
I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah, no, Jack sent me. He got this as a gift to brought John Eddie like $1,000 to church.
To the church of Scientology.
Yeah, one of my friends. Dude, he's been since he was a kid. He has a sister and 2 siblings in the sea work, and his mom knows he loves waves.
And you can't then, or else you'll get this.
Well, have
He said that doesn't.
Yeah. person.
Well, he said that he has probably 50 friends.
So,
He's a good pupper, man.
yeah. So, like, owners of big dogs, like, I understand it. Like, it's really stressful. Like, oh, don't jump on the... My dog doesn't jump on people. She doesn't like people. She
How
doesn't do
big's your dog?
But by his size, a little bit smaller. She's female.
A lab?
Yeah.
Oh,
Mostly lab. She's black.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tarver kind of convinced me to go with a bigger dog, actually.
Like, because of his two dogs?
Well, just because, like, I was wanting to get either, like, we were looking at maybe a border collie or some sort of a retriever or a lab, like a golden retriever or a chocolate lab or something like that. So, but those are my top 3 picks. I would have considered doing a Weimaraner as well. They're like silver dogs. They come in different colors, but I'm gonna hit record on this again.
Go for it. Awkward silence.
Anytime now.
Any of the things.
See, this is why it's going to be nice, I think, to have this bad boy, even if I only use it for mobile podcast.
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
Just goes, hey, we're back live.
So,
Recorded live.
we're all over the place, but we were somewhere on mainland Europe.
Yeah, we Pamplona. I made it to the Running of the Bulls, and that was really my first real experience with homelessness. Was like Pamplona, like for the whole,
Like you being homeless?
yeah,
Sleeping outside and shit?
yeah,
Damn.
for the whole month of July, basically, or whatever, when the Running of the Bulls is happening, it's just like a circus of like the bus station is just packed and there's no room at any inn in town anywhere. So people are just camped out in parks, any space that has grass on it, anything like
You didn't
that.
get molested or anything, did you?
I didn't.
That's
That I
always a
am aware of,
positive.
thankfully. Although, funny story. In Spain, I was at a bus station, and a guy who didn't speak very much English at all just kind of hand gestured me. And was like, "Oh, come here." I was like, "Okay." And I'm a trusting person. I've got time
Then he
for
threw
my
you in
bus.
the back of his van.
He didn't, but he did offer me money to do something with my penis or something. I don't know. And 80 euros is a lot, but it was not enough for me.
So
to
he
show.
wanted to pay you?
That was the idea, and it was something like he kept gesturing towards my crotch, and I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm out." And I walked back to my bus. But that was interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been propositioned for some kind of sexual activity, but I'm not.
Maybe he was
I
a
did turn it
pimp.
down. I don't think so.
Maybe he wanted to get you into male prostitution. He could be
Maybe.
your pimp.
Yeah, maybe.
So you could be
as long as
in
no
a
one
stable.
really touched me or looked at me,
He was stabling
I'd be
hoes.
okay with it. Yeah. So that did happen in Spain, but that was probably a week or two after Pamplona. But yeah, like my first 2 nights, I slept on cardboard down in the lower section of the bus station.
Damn.
And then I was like, see ya. And I went to Madrid and stayed a night with somebody I had met. So I stayed in northern Spain, just outside of Santander, just outside, like an hour outside of, in a nice, cozy little Spanish mountain village, small town. It was cool. With the dad of somebody I know, and then through him I met another guy who lives in Madrid in an apartment. So I slept on the floor of his apartment, or his bedroom in his apartment that he shared with somebody. And then I went to Toledo and put up my hammock in old part of Toledo, which is a beautiful walled city. Just got, old mosques and synagogues and churches all over the place in that place. It's
Did you go to Italy?
I'll get there.
Okay, sorry. You said mosques and synagogues and stuff. I'm like, yes, Renaissance art.
Yeah, Renaissance art. I just kind of was like, okay, and I'd take a bus to the next place, and I try to time the bus to be kind of overnight as much as I could. I went down to Sevilla and then came up the coast. About Barcelona, I hit up a few places. It was so hot in Sevilla, by the way. It's super hot. And it's not the best place to try and sleep outside. But I didn't have to, because that night came along and I had been hanging out with this group of backpackers from Canada or up north somewhere. And
By backpackers, you mean motorcycle gang?
no, what I mean is these guys who had just graduated college, and they were Euro adventuring.
Euro trip.
Sure. Anyways, the hostel they were staying at had a balcony thing on the roof, and I just slept up there that night. I had said, hey, would you guys hold on to my bag while I sleep outside? And they did that, but I ended up sleeping on that roof that night, and so I woke up early and went and got my bag from them and took off from there. That was excellent. Because sleeping outside is terrifying. Sleeping homeless is terrifying. But slept on the beach in Malaga, Spain, where someone tried to take my bag.
Oh, wow.
That was interesting. That was
really
probably the fourth or fifth night outside.
Like while you're sleeping?
Yeah. It was right next to my head, and my straps hit the cardboard I was sleeping on the beach. Sand, cardboard, so you don't get sand everywhere. That's very cute.
Yeah, and you didn't have any weapons or anything.
I didn't, no. And, I did have a knife at that point, but it was in the bag. So were my glasses, my passport, and everything else.
Damn.
He grabbed it. He was like 30 feet away from me by the time I was on my feet and out of my sleeping bag. And he just turned around and dropped my bag. And I was just so thankful for that. But, like, I went from in mummy sleeping bag to out and on my feet and squared off at this guy about to sprint in, like, no time. Just no time passed.
It's your whole life in that bag, dude.
Exactly.
That
and
would suck.
I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was going to run after him. I would, drop kick him or something. But so he dropped it, and there it was, and I tied it off to me, and I started being able to sleep on my back, which I had never done before this trip, with my bag underneath my knees, which is actually a pretty good position. Like,
I like
once
sleeping.
you get used to it.
I put a pillow underneath my legs a lot if I'm sleeping on my back.
Absolutely. I got used to benches and taking trains and stuff through like Central Europe, like France, Germany, Austria, Italy. I slept on a lot of train platforms on benches, and that's how I did it, and it was actually pretty comfortable. It's a good way of doing it. Anyways, Barcelona, got a rail pass, and I just started using trains for 2 months. I got a 2-month rail pass and went up through what are those? The Andes? Is that the? No, the Andes are in South America.
That is true.
Yeah.
Appalachian?
Nope, that's
Damn it. That's on our side of the coast. Why? Because when I took geography of Europe, it matches up with the Appalachians. I don't remember what the mountain range.
From Spain to France, there's this mountain range that splits them apart. And there's actually like an independent country in there, and it's like Andalusia or something like that. Andalusian Mountains, maybe? I don't know. The Pyrenees? Does that sound correct?
Yeah, yes, it kind of does. It is the Pyrenees.
Pyrenees Mountains. Anyways, just
mountain range that separates the Iberian Peninsula from the rest of Europe, stretching for more than 430 kilometers between Spain and France, rising higher than 3,400 meters in elevation, hiking trails,
I suggest going to Barcelona, getting on a train, and taking the train towards Toulouse. But every time you see a small, quaint little train stop, get off and just walk around and camp if you have to, just whatever.
Did you camp a lot? Did you ever have a tent at
I
any
never
point?
had a tent. I did get a roll mat from some kids who in Greece, but that was much later. I did get a sleeping roll mat, but that was much later. But yeah, so I went from Barcelona to Toulouse, and just like that whole section of period, oh man, it's beautiful. It's mind-blowing. And then southern France is gorgeous as well.
So do you feel like going on this big trip experience kind of prepared you for like when shit really goes down?
Yeah.
You're gonna know you can survive because you have survived.
I think a big part of how I deal with my depression these days, or a big way of like, man, I'm 30. I'm unmarried. I have no children. I have no actual career. All of the social expectations that are on me still. And
what do you mean by social expectations?
I'm the oldest of the oldest. My parents don't have grandchildren right now. They probably won't for a while. Like, there's just all of these kind of like social expectations of like, I should be having kids. I should be married. I should be financially stable, ? Or at least financially independent.
Dude, let me tell you something, bro. You're more financially stable than I am. I mean, I like, we're stable. We are able to do essentially what we want.
Right.
But like, yeah, I have like, I don't know, 5 times more student loans than you.
Sure.
2 mortgages.
But that's the way that life works.
Health
right
insurance is $500 a month.
People in your position though, like you've put a lot. I don't know all the financial like lingo for it, but you've got a lot on the line, but you've also got more capital coming.
You got a lot
in,
of diversification.
So, yeah, exactly. So you've got a lot of capital to work with that's coming in, and you're paying things down, and you're able to do a lot. Whereas like my method of like I'm not spending anything that I don't have is like I don't have a lot, so I can't do a lot. Whereas you can do a lot, and you go into debt, and you're just paying it down later.
Like it's people always say that fucking bullshit about money doesn't buy happiness, but you know what? Money buys experiences, and experiences can make you happy.
Right. Well, money gives you the ability. I wouldn't say that it outright buys it, but it took me $400 for a one-way ticket to London. I spent.
But yeah, you bought a one-way too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm, yeah, no way out. And over those eight months, I spent of my own money $7,000, and that includes that $400. It does not include the ticket home, which I split with some money my parents gave me and a group of people that I had met helped me get home at the end of that. The trip, I think, it taught me a lot about like minimalism and about like what I need to live. And life here is just so complicated. Maybe life just in a lot of developed nations is just so complicated. And most of the time, it's just like I just want a place to live, and I want a source of income to do the things that I love to do. But then I personally get into a situation of like I'm not really sure what those are, because I love traveling, and that kind of gets pricey after a while. I wish I could do a blog and make money that way, but I don't have the energy to do a blog. I can barely check my email. Let's see what my number is up to right now. 4,338 unread messages.
Dude, I haven't even put the email back on my phone yet.
It's just not even. Why?
Yeah.
Spam.
I know, man. It wears me out. Then too, what wears me out now is I'm getting these. I get tons of spam calls because my business line's my cell phone, and now they're calling from like local numbers.
Yeah, warranty services.
Yeah, it's insane.
Love it.
Local cell phone numbers.
Have you gotten a call from Timothy Churchill?
No, Timothy Churchill, but
yeah. He's got the exact same voice as some other guy whose name I haven't heard enough to remember. But Timothy Churchill calls me at least twice a month.
Yeah, no, we get stuff like that. It's
clearly just a computer voice.
Some people are calling you to rip you off on voice signatures. They ask you yes or no questions and your address. And it's crazy. It's happened to us, and somebody actually stole our business corporate card through that process. Yeah,
that's
3
crazy.
times.
3 times.
Cora was answering the phone, and they had this big elaborate thing, and they'd be like, what's your name? Are you the women's instructor? Oh, I'm Cora, do you teach the women's classes? Yes. Just trying to get you to say yes, no, no, what your address is, your first name, your last name.
That's pretty elaborate to kind of like.
It is, and they do it as like a full-time job. It's almost like a panhandler for.
Right.
Crazy.
I mean, the world is so much more dangerous now that we've made it more convenient, but that's kind of the. We've opened ourselves up to so many more like there's a scam right now, and I'm just gonna blow it out in the open right now. You can, I just cringe at like the effects of this. You can go get a receipt from Walmart. Let's say you find a receipt in the trash from Walmart.
Blowing out in the parking lot, yeah.
Yeah, blowing out in the parking lot.
I actually used to work at Walmart, so I may know this.
And it's for, I don't know, like a bottle of aspirin, right? And you go into Walmart with that receipt in your back pocket. You go to the shelf, you pick up that bottle of aspirin. You take it to the returns counter with the receipt. They will give you cash for it.
Yeah, that's happened for. Now, what people try and do too is they try and people sit out in Walmart parking lots all day. So like the loss prevention department at every Walmart, they have an office. Usually when you walk in the front, there's like a random door right there, and it's usually the loss prevention office. Somebody's in there watching cameras and running reports all day, and they work really close to the local police. But and then they patrol the store and are always looking for thieves.
Right.
But that is a major way of scamming. Another way is like people get friends that are checkers in any department or up front, and like they'll go buy some bullshit items, and then they'll get like something expensive, like an iPad or something like that. I mean, it can't be an iPad because you have to get out of the case, but something more expensive that's not locked up, and they just don't scan it.
Oh, I see.
But they put it in the deal, deactivate the thing on it. They busted somebody at the Walmart I worked at. They busted a bunch of people for that after the fact, like doing it, and they were doing it with stuff that was in the case. Then you got to worry about people in your shipping and receiving department.
Yeah.
As it comes off the truck.
Yeah.
Stealing it.
Yeah.
I knew some people that did
it
that.
fell through the crack between the truck and the dock into my backpack.
Yeah.
Oops.
Exactly.
Oh, this is broken and that's broken. I'm just gonna throw them behind the dumpster so I can come back and get them later.
Yep.
Yeah.
But man, there's kind of always somebody watching. Those
Yeah.
people know all this stuff that are working in loss prevention. So
I just think that stuff's crazy. Like I've never thought about that kind of things. I thought I was intelligent until I met homeless people running scams on these corporations. I was like, this is genius. This is pure genius. Who thinks of that about this?
Dude, somebody that Dan Carlin I was telling you about this today in that talk was saying like, what if Alexander the Great had a podcast? Imagine how much we would know. You should start a podcast. Like that was his, because thinking like 500 years, how much more we'll know if the digital world doesn't blow up or something.
Oh, it surely will.
Yeah. That's the next biggest bubble.
Yeah. I mean, the Industrial Revolution.
Dude, the printing press. How big of a deal is the fucking printing press?
Pretty big deal, right?
Some people argue that it was more influential in than the internet. I can't really agree with that statement, but at the time.
Well, I think time will tell. The internet has been pretty influential, but it's also had some. Well, I mean, I guess the printing press has had some negative effects as well. But I think the internet
positive effects. They say the reason Martin Luther didn't get burned at the stake as a heretic is because even though he did at the Diet of Worms. He did get
That's
kind
diet of worms for everyone else.
Worms. He did get excommunicated from the church.
Yeah, they were pissed at him.
By, was it Charles V or something? I can't remember, the Holy Roman Emperor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What a weird balance of power with you have your monarchs, your Holy Roman Emperor, and the Pope.
Yeah, what an interesting time in Central Europe.
Yeah.
But
so he gets excommunicated, and they said the printing press is in the spread of his ideas and him translating the Bible after that.
Yeah,
and
funny what happens
he had a cartoonist on staff too.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that. Yeah, funny when you can get the masses to know what you're saying. Now there's accountability to the monarch when he presses charges against you.
Spread of ideas, man.
If Socrates had a larger audience. Where people were
Socrates?
Yeah, Socrates. Then, when Athens brought charges against him, people would be like, no, that's not true. We heard him,
You know what I love being an
Which is why
elitist philosopher about when it comes to Socrates? People would be like, well, Socrates said, and I'm like, wait a second. Socrates never wrote anything, so how do you know what he said? And they're like, oh, well, and then I got to tell them about the Plato dialogues.
You gotta tell them.
Sorry to cut you off.
Thank you, Plato, for speaking through your teachers.
Yeah, but what do you think about the idea that Socrates might not have existed?
Well, I mean, what do you think about Pythagoras not ever existing?
I don't think about it.
Okay, yeah, that's about where I stand with Socrates as well.
Oh man,
I mean that's why they tried Jesus at night, because too many people had heard what Jesus was actually saying, and they would have never gotten that. That kind of trial to go through if they hadn't held it at 3 a.m.
So let me see if you can offer some clarification on this. Okay. So even Martin Luther, maybe not super, but he was, yeah, okay, yeah. Super anti-Semitic. That's what I was going to say. So explain to me. So I didn't take history of Christianity. I did, sure. And but I was a couple classes from religious studies minor, but I really wouldn't needed that course to put some things in context. I feel like that's.
I don't think.
I feel like that, and
a lot.
Now I would have enjoyed that in the Reformation.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I took the Renaissance.
I got robbed on my Reformation class in seminary, because of curriculum change. We can go into that later personally, but I got robbed. I was looking forward to my church history and Reformation class, and it became something else that vaguely covered Reformation stuff. I was just like,
yeah. When I delved into it this time around, I was super fascinated by it. And when I was younger, I was not at all.
I made my last 4 papers in that class about Reformation, predestination.
Okay, so I've heard people joke about this on both sides of the fence. But is it historical manipulation or what? So it's like you have Jesus's trial, and like what? The Jewish section just yelled louder. Like what?
There was no non-Jewish section, I think, is the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but where does all of this, like historically speaking,
anti-Semitism come from?
Yeah, and how is it that rampant in the 1500s?
Well, I think in the
with Martin
1500s,
Luther?
you don't just have like theological or historically religious like powers at play there. Like you've got Jews lending people money. Like Merchant of Venice style, taking people's money and kind of stuff. And it's an interplay. Like, whoever shot first, whatever happens, then you've got, like Christians and Jews in the same synagogue, and then like Jews wanting Christians out of their synagogue. They're not like us because they're losing identity, and so there becomes friction there, and then like Rome takes over Christianity, or Christianity takes over Rome, however you want to look at it. And there are persecutions of not only pagan religions, but people who are refusing to acknowledge
in the
Jesus
same right,
as
Martin Luther
Messiah.
called the Pope the Antichrist like all the time. So
We will not comment necessarily on particular popes, but yeah, pretty much.
What a weird word to me is?
Moist.
That one too. Papacy.
Papacy, right?
The
papist.
Yeah, I know, right? Any conjugation, papist, papacy, papal.
Yeah, I love the papal. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
No, but there are many. I think there are a lot of like 14th century, 15th century politics, like social politics, going on in the Reformation that are like super. They're so far outside of and removed from religious or theological reasons, like the Jews affect
what's
culturally.
crazy? Yeah,
which is, it's fed by a whole history of like maybe religious and social interaction and butting heads and friction and stuff. And the Jews not ever really having political power, so they're always kind of like in that fight between the dominant culture and the Jews, especially rabbinic Judaism. Like they're constantly getting the raw end of the deal, but still hanging out or going somewhere else and then pissing some other people off somehow.
Yeah. It's crazy to me how all throughout history they have been persecuted.
Yeah.
It just never goes away.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like I never, so there's a really good movie out there you may have seen. It's got Brendan Fraser in it. What is it called?
We're talking about The Mummy.
No, but that one's good too. It's School Ties, I think.
Nothing.
But he's a Jewish kid, and he goes to this college but it's a Christian college or like a Catholic college or something on a scholarship, and it like early on when he's like the star quarterback. Yeah, it is called School Ties. I thought it was good. Okay, when David Green receives a football scholarship to a prestigious prep school in the 1950s, he feels pressure to hide the fact that he's Jewish from his classmates and teachers, fearing they might be anti-Semitic. So he's kind of paranoid. But the very first, I don't remember the school he goes to, but the very first like scene when he gets there, they're like one of the guys is like, "Oh, you fucking Jew," or something like that. Like says like just like, but like
just like not
like
actually
a common cultural phrase, really.
Right.
And he's just like he hears that and he's like, "Oh man."
They know.
But it's an interesting thing to think about to me that's how many phrases are like that, that I never knew. I never thought about that. I heard from time I was a kid. I tell people frequently, I remember the first racist joke I heard about O.J. Simpson when I was a little kid.
Okay.
But
I'm not aware of
get
any
into
O.J. Simpson racist jokes. Or
but
any
you get
O.J. jokes at all.
Yeah, it was about it was a skunk thing and half black, half white. But anyway,
I don't get it.
It's a racist joke about his kids, even worse. So about his kids being mixed. But
what's wrong with being mixed?
Nothing.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was hearing that as a kid.
Right.
Just like I'm saying, I'm indoctrinated by a kid going to the flea market with my dad, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to Jew him down."
Yeah, get him.
Like that sort of stuff, and like where historically those phrases come from, and how those are pretty much anti-Semitic remarks.
Yeah, I wonder they can carry. I'm a little bit too close. They can carry a lot of like like frustration, like because of how one culture deals with another culture, like financially or in certain social situations. They gain a reputation, and it's descriptive, perhaps accurately descriptive, and yet the way that it's used may be derogatory, or it may be just, factual. And usually it has like this element of like, and it's always about stereotypes, right? Like, Jews, they'll always get the best price on something. Yeah, I mean, that's not terribly far off.
Why would you not want to do that?
I mean, like, a lot of my Jewish friends are very financially savvy. And, the Jewish community really, like, looks after itself, like, financially as well. Like, if you're a young Jewish person or a convert,
do you think that has to do with, like,
you're gonna be taken
their
care of.
ethics?
I think so.
As a people. Because I would say, like...
I wouldn't even say biblical ethics necessarily so much as it's very important to most Jews that the Jewish people do well. And so the financially wealthy Jews are willing to support and help and give resources to seeing other younger Jews flourish and succeed.
Any church institution I see that is very big on pushing life skills typically is a super strong denomination.
Yeah, absolutely. And
like I will say this, that is why one of the main reasons why Scientology is such a big religion right now is because it pushes those life skills so big on the front end of just like basics like wash your hands, don't drive drunk.
That's why the Mormon Church is so addictive.
Yeah, that's another great
because
example.
they do community so well. Like, you're Mormon and you need someone to help you move, just call the church. 40 people in a truck will be there tomorrow at whatever time you need.
Yeah.
They won't know you. They'll have no tie to you other than they're Mormon.
Well, and I mean, is that not in a big way though what a community should be like?
I've said, like, my roommate in California was a big Mormon file, like Mormophile, whatever.
He was
like,
Mormon?
No, he wasn't, but he loved the theology and stuff like that. And he wanted to be like an apologist or like a... He wanted to teach at Brigham Young, really, and he wanted to teach. Yeah, like he loved it.
I wonder how many, if they have non-Mormon professors at BYU. I should ask. I'm going to have.
I don't know.
I'm going to have a guy that I believe is. I'm fairly positive he's part of the Mormon priesthood. Who's going to be on the podcast. I doubt we talk about Mormonism that much.
Right.
But I mean, I saw him yesterday. Like he's super good dude. Like that's just it. I was telling you, one of my friends is a Scientologist. I have several friends that are Mormon, and it's like.
Sure.
I'm not either of those, but like we're still great friends, and like I don't really feel like they're judging me or I'm judging them, either one. And it's like we get along fine. Yeah,
interesting how that works. I keep telling me and my ex-roommate John agree that like the Mormon Church does community a little bit better than the Christian Church, any denomination of the Christian Church. I'm sorry, Church of Latter-day Saints, I don't consider you Christian.
But some people wouldn't either. I think that they have it in the name though. It's in the name.
Church of Latter-day Saints.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
Christ equals Christian.
Well, not necessarily, but that's fine.
Hey, you've been to seminary. I'm going to just take your expert opinion. But it is, interesting to hear all of these opinions. That's one of the reasons I started a podcast. It's like, I want to have extreme people on other sides of the fence. Like, I want to have a super anti-Trump person on.
Ooh.
And then I want to have a super pro-Trump person on.
Can I be both? I want to be both.
Yes. You wear a different, do like a red bandana one time, like a blue in the next.
Interesting.
Like Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, or Crips and Bloods. It's either one.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
What is the color of the... Do they have a color, the Democrats?
Yeah, it's blue.
Is it,
blue and red.
Yeah.
It's blue and red.
That's what I thought. Crips and Bloods.
Yep.
A lot of symbology there, undoubtedly.
It's Illuminati.
So do you know, according to my research, you're the first person to kind of come up with the concept of the Illuminati, New World Order, higher powers, and...
No, go on.
Yeah. Aleister Crowley.
Why does that name sound familiar? Who's it?
Mr. Crowley. Ozzy Osbourne song. Oh. Also, I don't know if that's the pitch of how it goes or whatever. I haven't heard it forever, but it's Ozzy Osbourne song. I heard it in junior high for the first time. Aleister Crowley, he led Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin was obsessed with Aleister Crowley. He was a cult figure. Like OCCULT in England, and he went and studied in Europe and started his own religion called Thelema. And like L. Ron Hubbard, who founded Scientology, studied and was a part of one of his organizations that he had started.
Interesting.
Very interesting because all of Led Zeppelin's stuff is kind of
in the strain.
Yeah, and two, so I just found this out. Unfortunately, do you like Led Zeppelin?
Stairway of Heaven.
Yeah, well, good thing you don't like that one because it was
really ruins it all for me.
Well, that one was plagiarized with about 19 others.
Okay.
So they ripped off up to 20 songs.
Okay. Well, that was a terrible song.
Yeah.
Can I say that online? Is that okay?
I mean, it's definitely like my least favorite song. I don't know why everybody likes it so much.
As soon as it comes on, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, what is it, Wayne's World, where he starts playing the intro and then somebody's like, and points up the side. It's like no Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
But all the symbols you see on like Led Zeppelin's album covers and stuff, like the Trinity looking symbol and Zoso, those are all Crowleyisms. They're all these symbols of Aleister Crowley, and he's wrote all these crazy books. Let's see what the internet says about Aleister Crowley. Do we
think that Crowley invented these symbols, or that he's repurposed them? Because
he repurposed them, yeah, for sure.
Symbols tend to extend real far into the past.
This, and he studied a lot. So his name is spelled Aleister. Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer.
I'm just trying to figure out if this is the inspiration for
Anton LaVey, because it was.
I was thinking the TV show Supernatural. And
Look at
Crowley,
that dude.
Who becomes the king.
He's
of
wearing
hell.
like a leopard cape with this crazy thing. It looks kind of like a Egypt pharaoh.
Yeah, he's got that pharaoh hat going.
It's wild, dude.
That is man.
That's Aleister Crowley. So he's the guy that apparently.
Is this also Aleister Crowley? This is in the same.
Boy, Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
So he has all these crazy. So what I want to do now is, so I've been researching Aleister Crowley and Led Zeppelin, how they were inspired by him. But now, since I know Led Zeppelin ripped off 20 songs, like I hate Tony Robbins because that motherfucker plagiarized shit.
Anton LaVey. Okay, so that's
the dude who started
creepy
like
mustache,
Satanism.
like,
Yeah, it was inspired by. They say if there was no Aleister Crowley, there may not have been a Scientology. There may not have been a Satanism.
Oh well.
Not saying that.
Now we know which point we go back in time to.
Yeah, but this guy is just kind of like a super interesting figure to study.
Isn't that weird? Like, who would have thought that like that one man would have had that kind of effect on?
He looks kind of like Uncle Fester, doesn't he?
A little bit. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. Just how random that that was his effect on the world.
This dude was into like pee and stuff. Like he thought if you peed on him, that it would give him special powers and
like R.
and
Kelly?
stuff like that. No, but like all of yeah, kind of. But just like it had all of these weird, maybe not weird, I don't know, views on like the power of sex.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
Like they like multiple people having sex and like doing dirty sex things.
Yeah.
And,
kind of like the precursor to New Age spiritualism, like.
So
kind of harnessing the natural energies of the world.
Let's see. Yes. We'll see. Yeah. So he, when he was in Egypt, he wrote this thing called the Book of the Law. Then he studied in China. That's the thing. The thing that's interesting too about
that title is copyrighted already. The Book of the Law.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Has been for 1,000 or so years.
L. Ron Hubbard apparently studied all of these different.
Can finally eat this banana.
There you go, bro. Let me know if he's kind of funny there on the end.
That's all right.
Oh, dude, I would have tore that off.
That felt weird.
Is that a moist one?
No.
I was just trying to say
moist. Once you get past some moist.
Yeah, the first bite was definitely a moist bite. Oh, man. But yeah, I'm fascinated by these figures. Like that's like there's all of these monarchs I talk about in my world history class right now, and it's like only a quarter of them are memorable, and it's like there's so many other figures in history that are super memorable that you don't get to pay lip service to or time spent on very much. I'm fascinated. I would love to do a series of podcasts on the two topics. After I do this 1968 project, it's gonna be what I delve into next, but like history of the occult, history of drugs. Just do like a 10-episode run on 10 different cults that have formed.
Drugs
like
would be
Jonestown.
hardcore, going back in time, like see how different opiates have been used.
Yeah, I would even want to do one over oils. I know that's not really a drug, but
well, it depends.
Yeah. So you were homeless
I was.
in Europe, Spain.
I think out of the 3 months that I spent in mainland Europe, like between Spain, France, Germany, Italy, Greece, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary,
How many countries did you go to, dude?
all total, somewhere around 20 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
In 7 months, you said 7.5?
7.5 months, yeah. Really within 6 months, because the last month and a half
Did you
was
like meet any
back
like?
in the UK.
Did you meet any females while you were over there? You said you had a girlfriend while you were over there. You didn't like marry and get divorced, or like we already established you did not become a gay prostitute.
I didn't.
But you had the opportunity.
I had the opportunity in Spain. That's true. No, I still just had one contact back home, and I had started thinking real early on, man, when I get home, I'd really like to date this person, I think. And so.
So did that work out?
Yeah, we started dating, and then she broke up with me, spring of 2014. So we started dating in spring of 2013. It lasted about a year.
Interesting.
Yeah, there you go. That's the. And then you're just never the same, like once you've said, hey, this is the person I want to get married to, and then it all kind of falls apart. And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You get into a rebound relationship that lasts for 2 or 3 years and is extremely like, it's just like, I don't even like you. Why do we spend time together?
I think everybody's probably had one of those.
She's never going to listen to this podcast, so I don't care about that.
You never know, bro.
No, there's no way.
It's crazy. Some people I never thought would be listening to my podcast are listening to them. And then like telling me that they listen to them, be like, yeah, I heard you say this. And I'm like,
oh, shit.
You're the last person I would have thought to listen. And thanks for listening. I love you.
Does Dr. Tarver listen to this?
I don't know.
Yeah, Michael.
If he does,
Shout out.
Did you come to my wedding?
I did.
Yeah.
Out at the barn.
Yeah, you did. That was
That was my first Colby sighting since high school.
Dude.
Easily.
I wouldn't be surprised that motherfucker came over today. But I'm gonna upload this. I'm gonna upload this after the fact.
Yeah.
So don't. He's gonna be home if you go by there. If you know where he's at.
If you know who we're talking about, which you probably don't. It's probably not that person.
Muffin Bill. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Got up into France. Got all up in there.
Did you go to Versailles?
I did. I did go to
Sick.
Versailles. I
Hall of
didn't walk
Mirrors?
the gardens, but I just walked through that entire chateau, and it was great.
Dude, they said when Louis XIV had walked through the gardens, there'd have to be people run up ahead of him to like turn the sprinklers on, and then like people run behind him to turn them off. So like it'd be like Vegas when he walks by, they come on or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
Super funny.
What a pompous, arrogant son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, really. But that dude, that Tom Ritchie guy, pimping ain't easy. But you know what? Louis XIV, he really made it look easy.
Well, when you're spending like your entire national budget on you.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how, it did lead to the French Revolution or whatever, but France had just had all these wars and stuff go on, and then Louis pops in and is like, hey, fuck the Calvinists. We're a Catholic nation. Fuck the Pope, too. We're a Louis nation. Pope doesn't have any power here.
Yeah.
And we're Calvinists.
It was...
But there have been all of these turbulence. So like 20% of the population was not Catholic.
Yeah. Well, it was all bound to happen. When you can take that all the way back to Constantine. What were you thinking?
Remember how many times Krieger said that still they had not called the Estates General, like because they never called the Estates General. Louis' whole reign, it's like 1614 was the last time Francis.
Yeah, he just kind of basically said, "Hey, you guys can go home."
Well, how crazy is it? You go from it's in post-Reformation Europe, you have absolutism become a thing, which is basically dictatorship. It's a dictatorial type of
rule. You take away the monarchs, and then you get dictators.
Yeah, I'm lecturing over Peter the Great next class, bro.
Ooh,
yeah.
In Russia?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Sausages and vodka.
All right. Hey.
Rescuing the people from the ship and then dying. Remember he like swam out into the ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you should say sausages and vodka because when I was in Greece, I went to Thermopylae, which has a little hot spring. Yeah, we'll just do the organic way of getting around to these stories. Has this little hot spring area, like spa thing that you can go to. Anyways, I'm in the parking lot of this thing, and it's all shut down. Like the cliff face is like up on the mountain, and you've got like another mile until the actual Mediterranean or Aegean, I guess at that point. So when you watch 300 and it's this sheer cliff face, a lot of sedimentary deposit has created like a whole mile of land to where that's not a cliff face anymore. It's a mountain that rolls down. And
Interesting.
Yeah. So there is a hot spring there, and
that's why they call it the Hot Gates.
Yeah, crazy. Thermopolis. Yeah.
We just watched 300 that night, dude. If I'm not mistaken, we saw 300 at Pickwood together.
We may have. I was slightly agitated when that movie came out because
we definitely saw it together. I remember you were pissed.
It was just so frustrating because like however you feel about Herodotus, like his account of the tale is like on some level authoritative, even if it wasn't 5 billion Persians or however many.
That's what's crazy too, is like how often the historians are like working with the state for the state.
Right.
Like in the Middle East, for example, after the Mongols, like reading some of the accounts by the Islamic historians talking about when Genghis Khan took them over in 3 years, took over the entire Middle East in 3 years. Like how they like come to terms with that, with like the amount of death that had happened is crazy. I mean, like they write about it like it's like a lamentation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's very real when you read it. It just has, but sometimes when I read different accounts by Herodotus or even Josephus, I'm like, is there no ulterior motive here?
Well, I mean, yes and no, but that's a whole nother podcast for Josephus. But like, you're talking about a Jew in
do you feel like you could do a whole episode on the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Not currently, not off the top of my
Charlie
head.
Bush could. He studied the Dead Sea Scrolls for like a year or something.
What?
Yeah.
Is that why he was over in England?
I don't know, dude.
I know that him.
Do you know he was a Green Beret?
Yeah. No, he would talk about
He's
knife
a knife
training.
instructor,
Yeah.
bro. He's like, that they do like this? That's actually not a thing.
Yeah. No, he taught people how to kill people with knives. Excellent.
That's wild.
Where was I? I was somewhere.
Thermopylae, the Hot Gates.
Right. I was just pissed because like people watch movies and they implicitly pick up historical facts, air quotes, and then they come around and they talk to me and say, "Oh yeah, 300 Spartans." I'm like, there were more than 300, and there were more Greeks than that there. Don't be an ignorant son of a. It was still impressive. Like it's still a very impressive feat that happens. There's no reason to dial it up. And I get it. It's artsy and it's a kick-ass movie. I'll give them that. But like, I was more frustrated at the social consequences of that and having to deal with stupid people because most people don't get a good history education. Like they have no idea.
I know, man. It's
like Kikero said. If you don't know what happened before you were born, you're doomed to forever be a child.
Ooh.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice quote.
It's paraphrased, but that's what he says.
Yeah.
Probably puts it more eloquently since, he was an orator.
So where'd you hit after Thermopylae?
Oh, so at Thermopylae, it's late. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes. There are tons of mosquitoes at Thermopylae, probably all the time, but especially at night. And there are these two truck drivers with their trucks pulled up, and they're out in camp chairs with like a little gas stove, and they're out drinking. I'm just like... And then I see them squirt like bug spray on them. I'm like, hey, could I get some of that? And they spoke a little bit of English, but they were Bulgarian truck drivers in Greece, stopped off for the night.
No gestures to the penis area.
No, none of that. But they were
That's
eating
nice.
sausage and drinking vodka. And
Nice.
not only did they share their bug spray, but they shared their vodka and food with me. And that was like me and two Bulgarian truck drivers in Greece eating sausage and drinking vodka into the night right outside the Hot Gates.
Wow.
Peter the Great's,
Favorite meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, that's apparently what killed him is after he got like hypothermia or whatever after he got but he went and drank all this vodka and ate all these sausages.
Which lowers your,
Well, poor Pete.
What are you going to do, man?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Dude, it's kind of weird. I drank a few beers the other night and like a shot of tequila, and then dude, it's weird. Like the last few times I've drank, I've felt like super, super weird. Like the last couple of times I've drank, but I fell
Well,
asleep.
like morally conflicted, or
No, like more like morally conflicted the next day, I guess you could say. But like physiologically, like I don't feel good. It's like at all.
how much alcohol are you consuming?
Like not very much. Like I think I drank 3 beers and a shot the other night. So, but that was with dinner too. So
Yeah.
it's not like a whole ton. I guess it is. But, and think I had 3 beers and 2 shots when we went out the other night.
Yeah.
But like, probably like,
But you're drinking Corona.
yeah.
That's like lemonade.
Yeah. Like, but like I will say probably the last,
lemonade
out of the last
beer.
half a dozen times I've drank, 3 of them, I've like not felt good. Like
Just like immediately or a couple hours after?
a couple hours after, like I fell asleep kind of early on the couch the other night and I went to bed.
I mean, you hydrate often enough. There's no
I
way
know.
you're dehydrated.
Well, I think I could have been the other night, but I woke up at 1 and maybe it either had like a nightmare or like it got like bundled up in the blanket too much and like my body temp went up or something. I don't know. But I woke up and I just felt like basically I was having a panic attack, which I don't have panic attacks. I never really had, other than if like I get like super freaking tired rolling or sparring or like, you get your heart rate out of control. But I was just like, man, I don't feel good. Am I going to throw up or something? And I was like, well, I've ate. I did have a little bit of alcohol, but definitely not enough to be throwing up. I was hydrated today. But man, that's just like, alcohol is not good for you.
It's not. It's a poison. I've been saying this since we were teenagers. Alcohol is a poison.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
it's
it is.
crazy because like
when you go out drinking, the funny feeling you get is you're poisoned. You're mildly poisoned.
yeah, no, I mean this idea of like your blood alcohol level. It's like, and it's weird because some of the funnest experiences I've had, like happy times, I guess you could say, you've been drunk, but also I do notice I get a little. I think it's almost like when people do drugs, I need to be in a really controlled setting. Like I'm not gonna say I'm easily set off when I've been drinking, but there's definitely some of that there where it's like
Just agitation in general, or is it like you
uh,
can go do crazy stuff anyways, like go jump off a building or something?
no, it's just agitation, just like short-temperedness. Like that's like, so when people say it impairs your judgment, like that's what I'm chalking this up to.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It's just weird. I don't. I like the idea of social drinking, but then just like any social experience, if it turns negative, it's like amplified if I've been drinking.
Sure.
So-
Right. Like, let's say somebody, like walks by our table, and then one of the people at our table says something frickin'
Yeah, that's probably what set me off in the
Almost
first
starts-
place. I've thought about that several
almost
times
starts a
because
fire.
actually sent him a message. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry I jumped all over you, bro.
Yeah.
Because we were about to come to blows over that shit, just over a stupid argument.
Yeah.
And dude, I can guarantee you, if I wouldn't have been drinking, I wouldn't have been that way.
Yeah, you were uncharacteristically just a little bit hot at it. I mean, it was a serious situation, and he needed to know.
I didn't want to.
I'm glad that you handled it.
I didn't
want
to that. That's what got me kind of hot. But too, at the flip side, it's like, had he not have been drinking, he wouldn't have said that to
He
that
wouldn't have,
passerby
yeah.
who was being extremely fucking nice to us, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep bumping into you guys. It's the only door in and out to the patio.
Yeah. No,
so
it's
I can
all
go
right.
smoke.
We knew what we were doing when we sat here.
Yeah,
And
and
he just says, no.
yeah, but but that's it. Like that's a perfect example for both of us. It's
Yeah.
like you remove the alcohol and we're just having dinner from that situation. But it's like we wanted to have the alcohol because it
Yeah.
made for maybe making it a better time. But then it and maybe a couple of ways didn't do that because it's not controllable past a
Right.
certain point. And
Yeah.
a certain point, your blood alcohol with your food, it's in flux and you might be a little dehydrated, so you're feeling the effects more. Dude, it's hard. Like you have a lighter body weight, but I tell this people this all the time. Baseline hydration, this is what I think. I think if you're below 88 ounces of fluid in your body at any given time, you're dehydrated. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I just have I don't get agitated when I drink. Like I get sleepy and I get giggly. Those are the
I do too, and maybe I just drank that extra beer and it sends me out the top or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. And there was another thing, I stopped drinking for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And then probably in the last 2 or 3 years, I started having casual beers and stuff again.
I didn't
and-
start drinking until I went to Europe, so I found a drinking culture that I found acceptable. It wasn't even like all of Europe or all of the UK has a healthy drinking culture, because there's a lot of pub culture that is really unhealthy when you have like, 18-year-olds going out to drink and 21-year-olds.
Did you get roofied or anything?
I didn't.
Well, that's good.
I didn't, thankfully. No, but like it was just like old guys in a pub grabbing a beer,
Did you
watching
sing any
soccer.
songs?
I didn't get to. No,
Too bad.
Not even
Have
in
you seen
Ireland,
what
no
movie is
sunset.
it? Is it the other guys where like they're in a pub and then one girl's like, "Hey, hold on."
That's hard again. Yeah.
Oh, too
and all
much.
of their children get pink eye. What's that one? Anyways, yeah.
Cora just had pink eye the other day.
Oh,
Freaking
no.
crazy.
Well, I mean, anyways, passing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what'd you do after the sausages and the vodka?
Well, I mean, I got to stay with somebody in Germany who I had met in Spain through the person I was staying with there. And so her apartment, her couch became kind of a base of operations for me to like, once I got done with France, I went over there and she lives around Frankfurt, and I just kind of went out from there. And I spent a month. I went like to Manchester, saw some castles, went down to Verona, then I went to Milano, I went to Milan, then Pisa, and then the 5 places, the Cinque Terre,
Mm-hmm.
and then hit up Rome and Assisi, which all of Italy, like the trains are a bit
Did
of
you
a
go to
mess.
the Vatican?
Huh?
You go to Vatican City?
Yeah, I went to Rome. Rome and Vatican City are the same thing, basically.
Is Vatican City like inside its own wall though?
Oh yeah, it has a big wall around it, except for like the open part of St. Peter's Basilica. Like that's not technically walled in, but it's framed, but you can just walk in. There's no.
Mm-hmm.
But Vatican City itself is walled off, and you can't get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the Antichrist lives.
Well,
Just kidding.
I mean,
According to Martin Luther.
Martin Luther, who's a bit of a jerk.
Yeah, he loved beer.
He's a jerk. Was a jerk.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Always nailing his stuff to the door.
Well, it's not even that. Just like his conversations with Zwingli, when Zwingli's bringing up
yeah, I know.
good points, it's like, no, right on, Zwingli, you've nailed it on the head. And Martin Luther just used like these rhetorical devices to like belittle him. I'm just like, Martin, that has nothing to do with what's being said here. Stop
So
being-
Zwingli just straight up, he was Lutheran though, right? Or did Zwingli he's the guy that founded
not
Calvinism?
Catholic.
No, that was
No,
John
no.
Calvin, duh.
John Calvin.
But so Zwingli took
Protestant.
Calvinism back to, or I'm sorry, Lutheranism back to Switzerland. Switzerland.
You can't call it Lutheranism at that point. Like, you'd have to use broader terms like
Protestantism.
Yeah, I think what would later become Lutheranism or Calvinism, what we would know, those are strict down to the traditions that follow those two men and their students. Whereas Zwingli takes this kind of, well, and even you get the Anabaptists come out of that whole conversation too, and I feel like Zwingli is also tied to them in some kind of way. But you have like these pacifist people who are just like, look, if we live, this, and not participate in government, not try to like wield the sword of the state for our own means, we do this, and this is how we live out the kingdom of heaven here. And I mean, and then they, then they start killing people, taking up arms and stuff. The Anabaptist history is a little funny that way, but a lot of things come out of like that Reformation time period.
Yeah, I know. It's a revolutionary period.
Everyone's like, here we have these really 4 or 5 core like problems with the Catholic Church, and
purgatory
and its doctrine. I mean, yeah, purgatory. I feel
indulgences.
Indulgences are
Those
a
are
big
great.
one. Purgatory is one where it's like purgatory is not like yes, purgatory is stupid, but it's not really the point. The point is indulgences. The point is like all this other bull crap thing.
Want to spend less time in purgatory?
Exactly.
That'll be just like a year's wages.
A little bit of money. Little bit of money.
That was like, I think it was like 3/4 of a year's wages for a peasant to buy less time in purgatory
Less
in a
time.
special coupon form from the Pope, which would be sold by like a bishop or something.
Yeah.
Well, too, like I hate too
Exciting.
that like so pre Martin Luther, no one could really
Right. He brings it
interpret
into
the Latin Bible or read it except for the local parish priest.
Right.
So they would be like today we're reading verse blah 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 from Psalms, and that was it, and this is what it means.
Yeah.
And that was how they got their information. But apparently once everybody started reading the Bible, they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, no one, I mean, for one thing, most of the priests didn't know really what to do with it either. They were given an interpretation, and so that's what they stuck with, because most of them weren't given really the freedom to think.
Do you know any of the people that were like taken out previously? Because like that was a big thing. Is like there were a few people within 100 years of Martin Luther, but it was pre-printing press, that had tried to bring up some of these same points against the Pope, and they were like burned at the stake.
I don't remember. There was a bishop in Spain who was a heretic, but he wasn't excommunicated because he didn't.
Spanish Inquisition.
He didn't teach. He didn't teach his heresy.
Oh.
He just had said, "Oh, this is what I think." And
Was that Erasmus?
that sounds?
Yeah, I think it was. He went on. He said that they should they should reform within the church, but the church shouldn't.
Yeah.
Desiderius Erasmus was known as Erasmus of Rotterdam, was a Dutch Renaissance humanist, Catholic priest, social critic, teacher, and theologian. Classic scholar, wrote in pure Latin style. But if he had some sort of connection to the Jesuits, if I'm not mistaken.
Who didn't at that point?
Yeah. Hey, so do you have access to HBO Go?
I don't.
There's a new show out. Maybe you can watch it on like
Something
Prime
else.
Wire or something.
Sure.
But it's called Gunpowder. It's set in like 1604 with the King James Stuart. And
King James the First.
Yeah, but
Scotland.
it's also like there's only 3 episodes, and Guy Fawkes is already dead. So like the B for Vendetta story.
No, I got it.
They play onto that, but it's got Jon Snow from
Kit Haring.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It's only 3 episodes in the first season, but pretty good.
Huh.
So yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like we could do multiple podcasts on all this stuff. So what you don't? So you said this earlier. It's like you've been all of this Reformation history, which I'm only able to discuss with you because I just recently learned it. After having gone to college
I've
to learn
had
it.
enough time to forget about it.
Yeah. Well, so you did. Then you went to seminary, but like you're not like starting your own church religion or
No,
active participant in a
pretty big-
congregation.
Yeah, no, that's true. When I went to seminary, I kind of
Got disenchanted?
not disenchanted. I just kind of like, it wasn't that I was enchanted in the first place, so I can't be disenchanted. But my entire time at church prior to seminary had been all about the community of people that I had there. And it was mainly centered around like
A community of all believers.
sort of small group and Sunday school, and like big church was something that I weathered. It wasn't something that like was life-giving or like even community like to me. So when I went to seminary, I didn't have a church, and I just kind of was like, well, you know what, like I could spend my time trying to get back and forth to a church or small group twice a week, or I can use that time to invest in the people I live around. Which should be easy because
I like small groups too, man. I think like you get to a certain point and the logistics aren't there. Like,
I lived in an apartment complex, and I learned a lot about like how architecture shapes a community, and things became real important to me about knowing my neighbors and being involved in their lives. And that's where I decided to spend all my energy instead of trying to go be a part of other people's lives who live in other communities and burn all of my energy doing that. I was like, no, I'm going to be here. And so like I poured a lot of my energy into trying to get to know my peers and my neighbors at school. And so now that I've made it back, it's just I don't have any foothold to get back into a community or a church. And I have no desire to go somewhere on Sunday and sing a bunch of songs and sit there and grumble about all of the useless things that go on in a church on Sunday when the guy over there and me are struggling with depression or addiction or this thing right here, and no one's addressing it. And there's no real outlet for that other than maybe a small group that I could sign up for on Wednesdays, which it's going to take me 6 months to get close enough, not for me to open up, but for them to be able to receive what I have to say to them. And even then, they're probably unprepared for how to handle it. And so I just can't deal with it. Plus, they're an add-on to my life. They're not a part of my work schedule. They're not going to I won't see them on a Tuesday or a Thursday or Friday.
So you don't see yourself doing like anything job wise with your...
I would love to work in a church. I would love to like organize and facilitate connection of a local church with just communities worldwide and nationwide, and just create a landing pad at my church and a launching pad out of my church for people to come and go and relate and connect resources and everything. And, build relationships between communities. I would love that. And I would love to, and there's a part of that where like I'm fixed in and I'm a part of the life of a church and people who go there, and I get to share my life with them, but I haven't found that anywhere. I haven't found that possibility. I just spent Christmas Eve to the end of February running a warming station in Conway for homeless people. Well, for anyone. Some people just came to get away from their spouse for a couple days. Some people they were out on parole and they had nowhere to go. So we gave them a bed for a couple nights while they figured it out.
Dude, seeing all these things though, from backpacking across Europe and being practically homeless and going to a seminary and all this, has seen like some disparaging parts of life. I'm sure it's got to give you some awesome perspective. At the same time, probably being a little depressing seeing, because I mean, dude, like when you're out there seeing like being quote unquote homeless, because you're, it's not like you were. It is a voluntary thing. You're going on this deal, but it's
that's
like,
why I try to hesitate to say homeless, since I
exactly.
had chosen the situation and I could have buttoned out at some point.
But when you're there, it's like things happen. Like people try to steal your bag that you're sleeping on, and
someone propositions you for sex. Or
I mean, just the dregs of possibility that could happen.
You're sleeping somewhere you don't know if you're going to get your throat cut and your stuff stolen.
I guess you probably are kind of fortunate to not lost your passport, not been robbed, not been raped.
I went to sleep every night.
Wondering.
I went to sleep every night just saying like, okay, like God, this is your time now. Like I've done the best that I could while I was awake. I've got to pass out. I'm exhausted. It's 2 a.m. I've been walking for.
Did you sleep like shit when you were over there?
Oh yeah, like they were like Rome. When I was staying in Rome, I wouldn't get to bed until closer to 12, and I'd wake up at 4. I was averaging 4 hours a night most of the time, just because like by the time a city, like you find a place that you feel like is safe, or you're too tired to give a fuck, then it's so late, and people aren't walking around, and then you got to get up before everybody else starts getting up. So 4 or 5 is really pushing it, especially if you're staying in a train car that's shut down for the evening. Trains start moving around 4:30, 5 o'clock. If you're I'm not saying I did that, wink wink. Just depending on where you've bed down for the night, you gotta get moving early. So
real talk.
I think it gave me a lot of perspectives on life about generosity and like the kind of generosity that I received and wanted to then reciprocate, not just to those people but to anybody. And ironically, I would love to have like a house with like room enough to take in people.
Have you thought about like writing a book or something on your travels?
Why the hell does everybody want a book on this? Yeah, for me, it's just really mundane. Like,
but what I think is, that there is no more authentic content. People want authenticity. People want, like, for example, I was saying earlier, like I did this Todd Snyder. He's a folk singer, solo artist.
Okay.
He's in another band called Hardworking Americans. But the podcast I've got the most views on is the Todd Snyder podcast. It's an audio only podcast. It's on YouTube, and it got super quickly got like 350 views, just like boom. And it's just because it's like 2 dudes sitting down talking about a concert they just went to.
All right.
We're excited about it. We had a great time. We were witness to this thing, and we got super good feedback about it. And it's because of this authentic amateur content.
Right.
Like,
just real raw and yeah. To me, like if I wrote a book about Europe or about traveling or about backpacking, or like I'd have like Bulgarian truck drivers' stories, or being picked up by a kid on the side of the road trying to hitchhike out of Greece because the train between Bulgaria and Greece is shut down. Bulgaria, Romania, Bulgaria, probably Bulgaria. So you have to hitchhike across the border to get to the 2 separate rail systems because the rail that connects shut down years ago. Bad economies. Like, or playing cards with two 18-year-old French girls who just graduated high school and have come to Rome, Bulgaria to get cheap cigarettes. Things like that. Like, those are fun little tidbits. But to me, and I could talk broadly
Well,
about
here's
poverty and
well, yeah,
and
but
life.
here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it's your relation? It's your personal experience as it relates to you. Like, almost think about it like semi-biographical.
Sure.
Like the points where I'm like asking these questions, like, oh, did he give you perspective on life?
Yeah.
Why? Like interjecting that stuff as it comes up. That's why I was like, oh yeah, Ryan would be cool to have on the podcast because he's fucking walked across Europe.
Right.
And coincidentally went to seminary, and we went through a lot of the same colleges.
Have spent most of my life trying to self-evaluate and assess what life is.
Introspection.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think introspection is one of the most valuable things we can do.
Right. I just don't know how you go through. Well, I mean, I do. I see it all the time. I just don't understand how people do it. Like how they go through life without looking. Like, hourly, I evaluate my life, and it's probably part of the reason I feel a lot of social pressure. Yeah, probably. Like, I feel like maybe it's the source of a lot of social pressure that I feel of, like, oh, I haven't done X, Y, Z. I haven't hit some huge landmarks in my life.
I felt that way for so long, and then just after a while, I just kind of got over the timeline aspect of wanting things to happen now.
Well, I think at this point, it's more of like, now I'm 30. I don't know what changed. Well, I do. I'm older. But like, I think about getting married, and it's marriage, like being a newlywed couple is different when you're in your 30s than it is when you're 23. In my mind,
it is.
My mind, I think I get married in my 20s, it looked like this. In my 30s, it looks like this. And honestly,
I don't know. Like, what I feel is like Corey and I were together for so many years before we got married.
Sure.
Like it's almost hard to keep up with anymore. Like, we were together for years, and we've been married for almost 2 years, year and a half.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like that first year is different. Like, getting married, it's weird. It's just such a stupid government contract that puts real pressure on your relationship.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, you're sitting here, like, how it looks and stuff. And I'm like, well, no, but yes, it does. There's like a social pressure there.
Right.
And two, so like, and here's how where it happens. It's like one of the major things that made my health insurance go way the fuck up was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
My car insurance went down. But it's like adding her to the policy, and then me turning 30 and her turning 25 all caused my health insurance in this 18-month period that we've been married to go up 300%.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like, I mean, it is literally like a mortgage. It's 2 times more than my car payment.
I don't want to adult that badly.
That shit,
I just
man.
I don't want to adult.
Like, we're moving some stuff around with our policies and having to get crafty and creative and raise our deductibles and shit. It's wild, man. Super wild.
I'm not excited about that. I mean, all I want really out of life is just someone to share it all with. I think when I got back, I had somebody like that, but it was real hard for me. I had to readjust. I had spent so much time. I had to become an introvert.
You were like cagey.
I had to become an introvert for a section of time, and coming back, and I don't know that I've fully recovered yet, but I could not communicate with people when I got back. I could speak English, but I just didn't know how to interact with people.
Did you pick up any other languages, phrases?
I can say thank you and please in just about every language that I touched, but, I mean, they're all written down somewhere at this point. My brain has just, like, put them in a dark corner of the room, where I don't have to do anything. My Spanish has never been better than that 1 month when I was in Spain. 2 years in high school, did nothing, but a month in Spain, bam, I'm on top of my game. I'm convincing, locals that I'm from there with the 7 words I know, and then it's really just like earth-shattering to them when I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm American, I don't understand anything you're saying, and they just have like this, what just happened, huge shift. I'm not bragging on my Spanish accent or anything, but I am. Giza, nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Man. All 3 of them.
You gotta have your head on when you go in there. You got 12-year-olds trying to shake you down for money.
So you went to Egypt and Israel.
And Turkey. Yeah.
And Turkey. Let's wrap it up with that, and then maybe we can come back. You can have you back on the podcast in a few weeks or something.
I'm in for that. Yeah, or just for anything. I like podcasting.
Yeah, no, dude, I love it, and I don't know, it really like podcasting, lecturing, and then teaching at the gym.
Yeah.
All bring me down an extreme bit. I've only been doing the podcasting and teaching.
Bring you down?
Yeah, like I just have so many ideas and goals. I want to do too much. I have all these aspirations and all these ideas, and I want to execute as many of them as possible, and some of them are longer term than the others. So like I don't know, it's just like doing the podcast, like I don't know, I get to talk about my ideas more and get them out in the open, and talk about them with other people, or share ideas or get ideas from other people, and just talking with other people, like you're saying, like you didn't get to talk with a whole bunch of other people, so it probably affected you socially when you came back.
Right.
I feel the same way. It's like I just have a desire to like basically sort through my ideas while I'm talking about them. It's almost like a release, getting out, like just repeating that information about Louis the 14th.
I
It's
mean,
like I gotta repeat this stuff and get it out, and I feel
That's why teachers always learn more than the students.
Teach to learn,
when
not
you're
to
preparing
teach.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
A Filipino man once told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that exact way.
I told I said this probably about 2 or 3 years ago. Like, I don't know what I think until I've said it out loud and have had a chance to either agree or disagree with myself. Like, I don't know what my stance on something is until I've argued it.
That's another thing. Just like talking things out that, you know, like you never, it's fascinating to me sometimes, like these dearly held beliefs.
Right. Gun control, abortion.
Yeah,
whatever.
and it's like,
I don't know
where
I
did they
stand
come
on
from? You know, like racism or anything else. It's like, what was indoctrinated into you that you didn't even really chart? Like, what friend of mine and I are always talking about this. It's kind of like period of life that we're kind of coming out of. I feel like you spend a fair amount of time, depending on who you are, deprogramming. Like what your parents didn't do. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Or didn't do to you.
Or didn't, yeah. No. And that's...
because newsflash, socialization is a good thing when harnessed for good reason. Like,
I totally agree.
You don't... There's no non-socialization option. You're either socializing a kid or you're letting your kid be socialized by someone else. That's the only two options you have. So, like, in the whole don't pressure your kid to do this thing, the kid's going to be pressured one way or the other. That's a given. You've just got to give them a healthy
all
out.
you can do is be there to sort of be enlightened and guide and facilitate the process. That's why, you know, it's like some people, it's like, you know, like you were saying earlier about like having kids or being married when you're 30 or whatever. I did this on purpose. Like, I'm 30, about to be 31. Next month.
420.
Yes, that is true. At least I have a birthday this year.
Bitch.
You're born on a leap year. That's crazy. But of course, 25, about to be 26. I'm 30, about to be 31. And we have a lot of the things we have right now because we waited. And I noticed that my parents and my grandparents
or 100
didn't have a lot of the things I have right now at my age because they had 6 kids. However, like my grandpa and grandpa on my dad's side had 6. And
even one kid right now is just so expensive. Just hospital bills. Like,
dude, my dog's expensive, man. I had to pay $174 for that stuff earlier that I mentioned. So just because he wanted to go hang out with the German Shepherd from back in the woods. I mean, bad influence. Yeah. Well, so Middle East area, Turkey, Egypt,
Israel.
Yeah.
What about it?
Well, okay, so why did you go there? What did you see? I want to know about the pyramids. Did you see the Sphinx?
I did.
Jerusalem, everything.
Yeah, so Istanbul is a great city. I don't know what it's like right now, but I loved it. And then I kind of bust around the western side of Turkey, just trying to see some of the 7 churches that are written to in Revelation, the Apocalypse of John, if you will. Man, and Miletus. I made it to Miletus. And just some of the old Greek and Roman ruins in Turkey are just amazing. Troy, like, was it Pamukkale? Çamukkale. I think it's Pamukkale, is old Troy. Well, it's close enough to the ruins, and you can go out there. Turkey I loved it. I loved Turkey. Although, there are stray packs of wild dogs that will eat your face at night, but I never really had a problem.
Puppy.
And hostels are pretty cheap there too, and it's pretty cool to sit on a rooftop in Istanbul and watch the sun go down or come up and eat, relaxing on a cushion. And like, I have different relationships with call to prayer in different parts of the Islamic world. Some cities, like, it's really beautiful and it's relaxing and it's like a cool cultural thing, and then sometimes it's like real dark and it's just hard to explain. Like, there's a real dark energy to it. And it's like, this is weird. But I'll pass on that. Egypt. I just spent 2 weeks in Giza and 2 weeks in Dahab on the Red Sea.
See, that's the NASA propaganda up there. That's not anything to do with the Egyptian pyramids.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, on this Chrome, we got NASA image of the day pops up every so often.
Dude, NASA is just
the fake intelligence agency.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just so much propaganda. Anyways, not that I just don't believe in the moon landing. It's just there's a lot of evidence that maybe
history conspiracy, bro.
Whatever.
Maybe you'll be back on for that episode.
Oh, that'd be great. Nah, man. Giza was amazing. I think there was a bus that got lit on fire in Tahrir Square while I was there. That was excellent. In 2012. They had been through, 2 revolutions at that point? They had a third
and you're
one.
just a couple years removed from that, huh? When you were there?
I was there in 2012.
Oh,
And
you were? When it was going on?
Well, that was like the second or third revolution that had either just happened there was one that happened just before I got there, and there's one that happened right after I left. But,
so it's probably the Arab Spring right before you got there.
Well, I mean, so people were fleeing into Jordan from Syria while I was in Egypt. I was watching that on the news in Egypt, in Cairo. So... stuff like that was happening. But it's an old, dirty city,
I know.
and starved because a lot of their economy is dependent on tourism. You wouldn't think. Like, who goes to Egypt?
I've watched like a social documentary about Egypt before, and they do have some unique problems.
Having a guy who's selling scarves just try and get me to buy anything, and almost becomes so. Cultural differences become really apparent when, like, Arabs start trying to sell you things, and they get frustrated at you because they just see you as an American, like, dollar sign, and or at least that's the way it starts to feel. I was just real interesting, kind of open up, like, you're being polite, you're saying, oh, sure, like, I'll come and see your stuff, but I don't really need any of this stuff, so I'm not going to spend my money here. And they think that you've come with $4,000 in your pocket, and you're just going to be dropping it here and there, and I'm down to my last $1,500 at that point, and I've got to somehow make it home, make it through Israel, blah blah blah. I was in Israel for a month.
Wow.
On $500, it is possible.
Holy shit! It's crazy that you live for 7. Like, I mean, that's
7 months or 8 months. 7.5 months.
I guess you could probably do that here, but not moving around.
Not moving around. And I definitely had a lot of help. Like, there were couches that I got to stay on. There was a cottage that I got to stay in for like a month. Anyways, when you get to the pyramids, though, you come in and you're paying, like, the Egyptians, if you're Egyptian, you live there, you pay like less than $1 to get in. If you're American, you're paying $15 to get in. And if you want to go into each of the pyramids, you got to pay a little bit more. And as soon as you come in, I had this little kid. He couldn't have been more than 10 or 11 years old. And he, like, comes up to me just straight away, ticket. I'm like, okay. Because, I mean, Egypt, like, sure, 11-year-olds doing a full-grown man's, like, job or something, sure, why not? And you've got security, like, military guys, security for Giza, and they're just walking around, and they just let it happen. And so I'm like, yeah, hey, look, I'm supposed to be here. I'll give you my ticket, which there's no way in that entrance without getting a ticket, so it's a little bit ridiculous. But he just takes it, and then once he's got your ticket, he's got your attention, and he's trying to sell you things, and he's trying to, like, we should get you a camel, and blah, blah, blah. Give me my ticket back, you little piece of shit. And he's under my skin immediately, and then just everyone is hustling you. Like, you're at a carnival where everyone's half-starved and need something from you. I had a guy put his keffiyeh on me, little over my head and put me on his put me on his camel and take a picture of it. And I'm like, thank you very much, but I told you at the very beginning of this I didn't want a camel ride. I'm not paying you for a camel ride. Get me off your camel. He's like, all right.
Like set you up on it. That's what I'm picturing. This guy like grabbing you around the body and be like, here, sit on the camel.
Small child. I had a guy come up and he's like, here. I'm like, oh, well, I don't want that. He's no, it's a gift. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks. And he's like, and he walked off.
You must pay for that.
No, I kept walking. He's like, no, that's not. I was like, you said it was a gift. No, you said it was a gift. No, you said it was a gift. I'm like, then go away. I was 2 weeks in Cairo is enough. When you're trying to not spend money is enough to just drive you off a cliff.
I imagine, man, that has got to be a major tourist spot. Like more so than you got a wonders of the world there.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm walking from. There's a vista where you can see all three of the major pyramids, and you can get a really good shot. So I'm walking out to there. Most people take like a camel or a Jeep or something out there. There are people who drive them. And I'm walking, and I see over here to my right these three guys and their camels, and they're feeding their camels, and they've got like a rug laid out, and they're eating. And this guy's like, hey. I'm like, hey, man, I don't want a camel. He's no, do you want some food? And I'm like, well, I can't pay. He's like, no, I'm inviting you. And I'm like, what? Like,
Thank you.
Sure. And like I had learned already from like people at the hostel, like when an Arab says, hey, I invite you, what they mean is culturally, like in Arab culture, when you're invited, it means like you're not expected to pay for anything. You're not, like nothing's on you. You're like under their protection. And so I went and there's a picture on my Facebook of me sitting with these three. Well, I mean, I think it's just a picture of the camel with the pyramids in the background, but that's me sitting on a mat with three camel jockeys eating falafel in Giza with a full view of the three pyramids.
Sick. With
their three camels eating hay.
What was the climate like?
Deserty, dry, arid. So many mosquitoes. Just so many mosquitoes. Around the Nile, around the Red Sea, just so many mosquitoes. I can't even... Mosquito apocalypse is the only way that I can explain it. Just like you wake up every morning and you've got three dead ones that you rolled over and killed, or that slowed down because of how cold it got at night and you killed, and there's blood in your sheets from where they were sucking on you, and then you mashed them, and then you just every morning. It was adventurous.
Crazy.
Like I said, I was on the Red Sea on the Sinai Peninsula, which Sinai is this beautiful, rocky, desolate terrain, kind of like the Rocky Mountains, but no civilization around. And then I came up through the southern tip of Israel on a bus. Well, you have to walk, and then I just kind of worked my way up to Jerusalem, and then I walked from Nazareth to the northern side of the Sea of Galilee, which is about 60 kilometers or so. That was fun. A guy in Cana who has 3 sons. This is a parable, surely.
I know. I was like, wait, what?
He's like the caretaker at the wedding church of Cana, where Jesus supposedly turned water to wine. Because anywhere in Israel, in the Holy Land, where someone supposedly did something, there's probably a church.
Veneration of holy relics, bro.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's a real thing. Anyway, so this guy, he's an Arab Christian, and like very few Arab Christians, but they exist. And he's like, hey, and I'm catching a nap in the pew. I'm exhausted from walking. I don't have a place to stay. And one of the priests lets me like sleep in one of the chambers down below the church, like on a cushion thing, a room that's not being used. And I slept there as long as I could. And then that guy's like, hey, how about you come home with me? And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And so I got to go. They gave me a place to sleep. He fed me that night. And his son like even gave me like a ride out to like where I needed to start walking again. And I was just like, what is going on?
There are good people in the world.
There are amazing people in the world. Like
there's just so many people and so many situations that I feel like you don't see it enough. But there are definitely good people out there.
Oh, yeah,
and every so often, people restore my faith.
Just that one trip alone has stored up enough faith in people to where I can't lose full faith in people. It's just, I've been given too much. I've been blessed by too many people in the world, like from every walk of life and every geographical location, whether it's Southeast Asia or the Middle East or the UK or Germany or Spain, like wherever it is, or Greece. Like they're just people who have taken care of me, have shared what little they have, you know.
What was it like looking on Jerusalem for the first time? Was it like seeing the ocean or something? You were just like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I came in on a bus, and it's just this windy, like, where am I? And then bam. And then really, in order to, like, really appreciate Jerusalem, you've got to walk all around the old city, and then you've got to go up on the Mount of Olives. There's a cemetery that an old Jewish, and I think it's just a Jewish cemetery. It may also be like an Arab cemetery, a Muslim cemetery as well. But like it overlooks the city and like the valley that is between them. And it's like where you see all of your big, like, oh, look, there's old city Jerusalem with Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock right there, the golden dome.
Yes.
And you've got to get there and look at that and be like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at, you know. And then you've got to walk those narrow corridor streets through the old city, and you got to do it in sandals, you know, just to kind of get your feet really disgusting, because that's what happens. In fact, last April, almost a year ago now, I was there for, 2 weeks?
You went back?
Yeah, I went back. One of my Jewish friends was doing her Jerusalem year there. Most of my Jewish friends are rabbinic students, so they're trained to be rabbis. They all have to do 1 year in Jerusalem.
Interesting.
She was there last year, and I went there for Holy Week / Passover because they kind of coincided. And so
like Shark Week in the Christian world, Jewish world.
No, like Passover in the Jewish world and Holy Week in the Christian world. Easter and Passover, you know, kind of coincide pretty close. Every year.
Some palm leaves and a donkey.
Yeah, I was on the Mount of Olives, which is where a procession starts. To reenact kind of the procession of Jesus coming into the city, and like it's the procession of palms or something like that. I don't know. It was interesting.
Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday, exactly. For that exact thing, I spent 2 weeks there, just constantly walking to Old City. It was about a 20-minute walk, and just walking hours around that place. I spent Holy Week, like Thursday, I stayed up all night and walked through kind of like all the stations of the last 12 hours, and it was interesting. There was insight to be gathered there. But I think seeing the city for the first time, it's just, I mean, there's an element of it where it's like I had seen Rome, I had seen Paris, I had seen Versailles, Toledo, Madrid, Berlin, London, Athens, Sparta even.
Did you go to Wittenberg?
Wittenberg. I don't know if I made it to Wittenberg. I made it to Heidelberg. I made it to Frankfurt. Where else? I made it to Prague. Like after a while, it's just like, wow, this is another, you know, Corinth.
They threw some people out of a 7-story window at Prague. And they landed in a pile of manure.
When was that?
When was that? That was during, there was some religious wars. It was the 30 Years' War.
Okay.
It was the Bohemian phase of the 30 Years' War.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I didn't see that, obviously.
Yeah, they called it, so they were, I don't even remember if it was Protestants or Catholics that were thrown out the window.
It's just, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they were thrown out the window and landed this manure, and they were like, the arms of the angels, they got them. And they're like, no, they just fell in poop.
No, they just fell in poop. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. I'd say that, yeah, it was otherworldly for sure. It's definitely even still, like last April, Jerusalem's otherworldly. It's definitely the center of the universe, I think, or at least the center of the world.
It's a cradle area.
Like, it's not just like the cross section of like all people coming to Jerusalem for this or that at all different times, but like, I don't know. There's just, and it's not just like political eyes on Jerusalem and what's happening all the time. Like, there's just something about that place that is, it's like you feel something very similar in Istanbul, because it's the pathway between Asia and Europe, and has been for over 1,000 years. You know, like there's something about.
I'm fascinated by
ground.
that, like the Eurasian steppe, like Mongolia. Yeah. Super fascinating.
Yeah, the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, that area. Georgia, the country, is like you can just rock up as an American and get a 365-day visa, no questions asked.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you know a lot about like immigration now.
Yeah, the funny thing about immigration is it kind of goes out of date depending on political powers and given enough time. Since it's now been 5 years, which my Facebook feed keeps reminding me that I've been back for 5 years now. Yeah, some things have happened, like the huge exodus from Syria into Europe. Like, there's no telling what kind of stuff's going on. When I was in Italy and France, there were herds, I'll say herds, because they were just groups of 40, 50 guys from North Africa who were carrying big carpet and blankets full of knockoff purses and stuff, just roaming the street trying to find the next place to go sell stuff to. And I was just what is this? Where are you? But they're just, they're just trying to make some money for whatever reason here or there, probably all different reasons.
It is totally crazy.
But it creates a weird, like when I was in Conway, homelessness, people don't want homeless people around their businesses for legitimate reasons. You can't deny that when you put a whole bunch of people with nothing to do in the same spot for long enough, something's going to get broke. It doesn't matter how poor they are or how rich they are. Something's going to get broke. And you don't need that around your business. It's the same thing when you put a large group of people who especially don't can't really function in society because they don't know the language or they don't have enough money or they don't have social equity, they don't have something. People in that situation are more likely to turn to criminal activity.
Agreed.
So it makes it less safe. But what are you gonna do?
Fall asleep every night thinking you might not wake up.
Yeah, especially when you live on the street, for sure. Paris is probably the place that I thought, geez, I'm gonna get my throat slit.
Did you go to the Eiffel Tower?
I didn't go up
There's
there.
a crazy apartment up there, dude.
Is there?
And the guy that designed it lived there.
What?
Yeah, it's freaking pimp, dude. And somebody famous was up in there recently. That's why I know
I went and saw
it.
both of the statues of Liberty that are in Paris, but I didn't go into the Eiffel Tower.
Very national treasure, too, of you.
Yeah.
Which I will say,
Wobbly.
the second cameraman from that movie was just recently on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry Bruckheimer's nephew, Michael Sandow. You should listen to that episode and subscribe to this channel. Trying to get that monetization on, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Need 1,000 subscribers. I have 40.
40 subscribers. Well, you gotta get some push, I think.
That's what, yeah, I've got a couple of there's going to be a whole month where I make a big mad rush for subscribers. So, but yeah, man, always evolving. So,
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, dude, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We've been going for 3 hours and 5 minutes.
Jeez.
It's only my third podcast to go over 3 hours. Every Joe Rogan podcast, 3 hours, it seems like.
Ooh. Yeah, well, I hope that was semi-entertaining.
Yeah, it was, man. It was good. It's good to sit down and talk with people for long periods of time. We would probably have never talked this long before, and probably wouldn't, and if this podcast did not exist. So
yeah, honestly, it was. It's been nice to kind of revisit some old things and reevaluate how they've affected decisions I've made since. Like I said, I've been back for 5 years, and it was hard communicating with people what happened exactly and how it's affected me.
Yeah, I think you need time and distance to get that. While that probably gave you perspective for life, you need time to get perspective about that.
Well, you've got to integrate it, right?
Yeah,
you've got to be okay, what the hell?
That's why, I feel like I've been out of grad school long enough now that I'm starting to get that way. I'm starting to kind of come into my own. Is what I want to do as a historian,
right.
what my niche is going to be, and because I wrote all my stuff on martial arts history in grad school, but now it's I'm the U.S. history is my bag.
Out, yeah.
So
it's understandable.
Well, dude, again, thanks for the time, man. People. You don't have a website or anything, so you want to give any plugs of any kind before we wrap it up?
Anything other than don't support the porn industry because it supports human trafficking ultimately. So there you go. There's a little puzzle piece trail for you to look into.
Multiple other episodes.
Human trafficking is fueled by the porn industry.
Dude, I got some really big theories on human trafficking. We'll have to go into them sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
All right, man. Signing off.